Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, episode 56, presented by Celtics Talk Weekly. I'm your host, Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we have our co hosts, Seamus Zarlingo and Daniel Miguel. And welcome back to another episode. I tell you what, guys, there's been a little bit of news, but we're going to kickstart it. First of all, you see that hat that Daniel's wearing? We got it right here. We got it right here. It was fine. We were right about to go on, and Daniel's like, "Wait, I have that hat." So now we're
Yeah.
matching. We gotta be representing. Seamus, you want to explain what you have in the background too? Oh, look, we both got the Celtics out now. So see, it's
You
the
know who designs that, by the way? Or do you know who designs the like?
I
Gotta give
do.
shout out to the designer, although it could be just a team apparel thing. Oh, here we go.
It's
Let's see.
pro.
It says pro. Yeah,
Yeah,
same
it's
here.
pro. I don't have. I have two of their sweatshirts too. I don't know where they're at the minute, but they're like it's more so like a cardboard kind of material on the shirt. But
You know what
they're
else it
nice.
says? It says built from blood, sweat, and tears, crafted from the finest materials.
It
So
is.
So
you
sick.
free
This is
sponsorship for Pro? Is that
Yeah,
what Pro
pro.
Apparel?
yeah.
It's
Look,
kind of a
Jason Tatum
generic name,
literally
but
has hair. Like, hold on, I'm ripping off Tatum's
this is
hair
a
right.
pretty good sponsorship. I mean, you got like the official shirt. You're saying that it's got hair and it's a firm design, and we're giving the company a free advertisement right now. But Griffin, you mentioned the shirt I have on, or not on, but rather in the background right now. Got the old Celtics Pride shirt. I believe this was from Titletown Apparel. I don't. I'm gonna give Titletown Apparel a shout out anyway. My guy out at Titletown Apparel. I don't think the shirt is actually from Titletown. I'm not sure. I don't. It's so long ago. It's from 2017, obviously.
Well,
But you have Kyrie right here, Gordon Hayward, and you got LeBron James. Celtic Pride. Anybody ever seen that movie? You got a one of the Wayans brothers, I believe. Or is it the Wayans brother? Are they in that movie? I don't even remember the Celtic Pride movie, but it's the whole concept is you have two Celtics fans kidnap a Utah Jazz player and they try to keep him away from the finals so that the Celtics can win the finals. And I'll just say this, the movie doesn't end amazingly for Celtics fans, but hey, when every time anytime Celtic Nation gets a shout out in a movie out in Hollywood, right? It's worth it. So this is what this shirt that's what it's based off of is that movie. But you got Kyrie, Gordon Hayward back here, so that's what I got going. But
you
you
gotta love.
guys, I like the matching. That this is what happened before we came to this podcast. I saw Griffin and Daniel. They were matching. They had all their great apparel. Like and this is the apparel too that's made there. It's hometown made.
It
Right, it's not
is.
some.
You
It's
got
not
rep.
some like no, here's Fanatics and here's Nike and here's no. It's made by the people usually within whatever community that is, but specifically something like this comes from the Boston community. So it's got to give them a shout out, right?
Got
I'm gonna give a shout out to Titletown Apparel. I don't remember if it came from Titletown Apparel or not. I feel like I got to check the tag or something, but I'm gonna give them a shout out anyway.
yeah,
And
and
if we
pro.
find the real maker of this shirt, we'll give them a shout out too, though.
And we got some pro on. So make sure Marcus
Bro,
Smart not involved in it, but we got some pro on too. I actually have a cool one too. It's a black sweatshirt, and half of it is black and white. The rest is Celtics green and like the leprechaun. So I'm gonna have to pull that up sometime. Some sick apparel from them. So, but how's it going, you guys? I know it feels like every time we do this, we go, we have the fan series with my weeks off. So it's like we see each other every day. And then when I have the Sea Dogs, it's like, all right, we have a little week, we have a week off, and then we're back into action. And we're back into action. Some Celtics news. But how are you guys doing? And then we'll kickstart. We'll jump right into it. Seamus, how's it going? How are you feeling in Celtics Nation right now?
well, can we get a center? Can we maybe is it possible to acquire a big man? I mean, let's see, it's July 9th. I will say July 9th. There's still time. Still a lot of time until October. I'm holding out hope, but I'm just right now I'm a little it feels quiet, right? On the free agency front and on the transaction front, but I feel like there is going to be a day where we see a flurry, right? Where we see one move happen for the Celtics, then maybe a couple moves come down the line because right now it's just quiet, right? It's been a little quiet out there, and I feel like we're just waiting for that notification to pop up. and for us to pop up
Yeah.
on a live to go
Alright.
talk about something.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But Daniel, how are you feeling in Celtics Nation right now? Are you kind of on the same end that Seamus is on? How are you feeling on this fine Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, basically the same as Seamus. I think last spot I mentioned the fact that we lost all three of our centers in a span of like weeks. I think 2 weeks. I think we lost three of our centers, and now we basically have the possibility of Xavier Tillman getting some starting minutes in our center position during the season, and I'm not okay with that. So yeah, I agree with Seamus. We need to be looking for someone, and it's a good thing. I think this is going to be. We're going to have to wait a little bit, let Brad cook. But the Celtics are actively trying to trade Anthony Simmons, or Simons. So if we end up getting a center off of this Simons deal, then I'd be happy. But yeah, for now, the Celtics are looking to trade Anthony Simons, and hopefully we get a center for him. But I'm feeling good about it. Obviously, as we already know, it's going to be a very mediocre season for the Celtics next season. Very again, we're going to mention the word developing or the development because that's going to be the big word for the Celtics next season. But I think for now, I'm feeling good. Tatum's walking again, even if it's in the water. He's walking, and I think that's good news for the team and good news for him too. JB is also looking good on his recovery, so can't be too sad.
Well, you mentioned JB right there, and Seamus, I think we need to cue the video really quick because I am gonna tell you guys about the JB pop up, but let's cue the video really quick. This was my interaction with Jaylen Brown to start it off.
So, well, let's give some context to this, Griffin.
Yeah,
You showed
let
up.
me. I know.
Let's give some context to this video before we show it to everybody. Griffin, you showed up at Kenobi Lake Park.
Kenobi Lake Park. Canopy. Sorry,
Canopy. Okay,
Canopy
I
Lake
can't
Park.
get I can't get the northeastern names right. My goodness.
I know. We're at all right. So let's give you a little bit of background first. How dare me, Seamus, being so rude to just show them a video and be like, hey, you guys take the video and I'll give
Got to
you
get a little sponsorship in there. Right?
I'll
About
give
the ads.
I'll give a little details, and then after the video, I'll dive into I'll give you guys the whole rundown. But we are at Canopy Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire. Great place. I have to mention too. Canopy is like I went in there and I was like, oh, it's giving Funtown Splashtown vibes. If you guys don't know Funtown Splashtown, that's an amusement park in Maine. It's on the older side, but I tell you what, Canopy is definitely on the older side. But they maintained it and give it a little old-fashioned vibe, but also a little bit of thriller vibes too. It feels like you're back, I don't know. It feels like you're back quite a bit. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And Jaylen Brown was having a 7-4-1 pop-up, and we got to meet him. We got to meet the man, the myth, the legend, Jaylen Brown. So I think that's a little context, and I'll trust me, I'm giving you guys the whole story, the whole rundown, the whole day, how it went through. So let's hear it though. So in this video too, I go up to him, and he's super humble guy. I just have to say, super humble guy. So and this interaction with him was just amazing. So let's cue the video, Seamus. I'm ready for it.
Without further ado, here's Griffin meeting Jaylen Brown.
Ready?
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
And I'm here to do BTS or something. You guys need it.
I got you. Oh.
So
There you go.
You got it right there. So he's super humble. All right. So I'm gonna start off the day. I'm gonna start off the whole day. We're gonna go, and everyone who's watching, who is at this pop-up, shout out to you guys. Like, this was my first time in Celtics community. I'm gonna say that. We've been doing the fan series, and I want to give a special shout out to Celtics community. I did get noticed when I was there too, which was hyped. And he's going to be joining the podcast. I got there and he's like, hey, you're from the podcast. I was like, yeah. So I got no sleep. I got home from late work at like 12:30, and I was like, all right, you know what? We're going to try to go to bed, put my head on the pillow, waited 5 minutes, and I'm like, all right, I cannot go to sleep. I'm staying up all night. So I stayed up all night. I had to meet the caveman early. I met him. I was supposed to meet him at 7 in New Hampshire. So what I did was I stayed up all night. I went to York Beach, which is a beautiful place in Maine. Watched the sunrise. I'm like, all right, today's gonna be a good day. Good day. Met up with the caveman super early. We got there around 7:44, and this is for perspective. 7:44 we got there, like 7:30. We were around there at 7:30. I will say that. We got there around 7:30. The gates do not open till 9:30 till 10. Till 9:30, 10. So we were waiting, and people just kept coming on in. So there was a line of people, and we were all waiting at the gates. We got there, rushed out because the caveman had a surprise, a little surprise, as I'll pull up in a minute, for Jaylen Brown. But we got there, got in the line. Everyone was so nice. Like, he was like, hey, you're that guy from the fan series. You do the podcast. And I was like, yeah, it's Griffin, So shout out to everyone watching at home. I'm going to pull up this one too. The Celtics community is just, man, great group of people. This was so much fun and just such a great time. I tell you what, I do apologize for everyone if I was like a little grouchy. I don't know if that's what the vibe came off as, but I had no sleep, and I was like my head was like so willy wonky. I was just so focused on getting an interview with Jaylen Brown. I was like, oh, I hope I get it. I was so anxious. And unfortunately, this is the part where I'm talking about. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the interview. I asked him after too, and I was just starstruck. I'm like, this is Jaylen Brown. This is Finals MVP. As you guys see right here too, I'll pull up as my light goes off. So we'll try to fix that in a second. But as you see, I got the signed jersey right here. So gotta show some love to JB, as I will try to get this back on for you guys. But got the signed jersey right there from Jaylen Brown. So
hold up the jersey again for the light went out. The light went out at the wrong time. There you go.
It did. So JB signed the jersey for me. Got me right with the jersey. Had some great time with the fans, because we've been coming on this podcast and been like, hey, what's the fan experience like? Because I tell you what, I hear about it all the time, and I've been to so many Celtics games, but I've never been in with Celtics community like this. And it's a great group of guys. We had a lot of ladies and gentlemen. It was a great group of everyone. And we had a lot of fun. And we were sitting there. The pop-up didn't start till 1. So we were there from 7 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. And we didn't even get to meet Jaylen Brown till 1:30. There was like a little miscommunication. So some gold people got to go in, spend their time with Jaylen Brown. When we went in, it was more so, all right, you guys go. It was like more of a standard pop-up. Like, you go in, get your autograph and dip. Like, autograph, picture, dip. Like, and you've heard a lot of the experiences, how he'll sit down and talk to fans. But this one, like, I mean, you have to admit, this was prepared weeks and weeks before. So a lot of people were like, oh, this is an opportunity to meet Jaylen Brown. As me, like, I saw this and I was like, this is an opportunity. And it's not like he's posting this the night before. I'm going to meet Jaylen Brown. So a lot of people were prepared for that. A lot of people came to the event. So it was more quick. I feel like with the pop-ups, it's less people. So he has more time to meet you one-on-one. But again, Daniel, you mentioned it. He's the guy who, he's so humble. I went up to him. He's like, how's it going? Thank you for coming out. He thanked me, which I do admit, I did pay a little money. I waited in the line, but I got to meet him. Thank you, JB. And then super nice. Like, after, I didn't put that part in, but I was like, hey, could I get an interview? And he was like, looking, he's like, unfortunately, I can't. No interviews today. But he was like, thank you, though. And he handed me the jersey. So he was very, and I think he wanted to. And I think that's the thing. I really do believe he wanted to, but he can't. Like, you could see it when I saw him sit down, because originally he was standing up, getting pictures with everyone. But then they're like, all right, look at the line. You're going to be here till midnight. If you do your normal thing, you're going to be here all day and night if you're talking to all the fans, because there was like upwards towards like 300-400 fans there at one point, I feel like. So they were like, all right, gotta like kind of speed it up, So it was great for the time it happened. But I'm going to show a couple more pictures as well. Here's that case I was talking about that the caveman made. He got the shoes in there, and there's me holding up the case. So sick. Shout out to the caveman. Here's us all right in front of the lake. Again, Celtics community. Great time. And then here's another picture right here. So much fun. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. But I think the picture that I love the most is me with the man, the myth. Well, I love both of these pictures. I'm going to say these two are my favorite. You know, it's Celtics community, showing my love with all the supporters out there and all the fans. And you got me and JB, the finals MVP, the man, the myth, the legend right there. Shout out to AJQ Photos, Andrew, with this picture right here. And I'm gonna give the other photographer a shout out. I gotta find his IG. He did a phenomenal job as well. So a lot of great content was there. Fleeza, shout out to Fleeza. He was so funny. I tell you what, every clip that you've been seeing going out is Fleeza as the main guy because he was hilarious. But a great time and great to be in the presence of the finals MVP, the guy who's going to be leading the Boston Celtics this year. Wish I could have asked him a few questions, but no problems. Like he was obviously, you saw that he was kind of like someone obviously said to him, hey, JB, you can't do what you normally do. Because I will say, Seamus, you know how we've been having people on, he takes his time, he's nice and talks to everyone. For the gold members, the people that came in first for the Juice Foundation, he was like that. And that took like hour and a half, and there was probably like 50 people there, and he would like spend like 3 minutes with each one of them, like being like, all right, and doing fun pictures and stuff like that. So he is such a humble guy, and for being a superstar, and I talked about this, I said, you won't see anyone else do this. You won't see Derek White do this. You won't see. Now, I'm not anything against them, but I'm saying Jaylen Brown is so humble, and the fact that he's putting his brand out there, but at the same time, he's taking time out of his day to meet up with Celtics fans. And another thing I have to mention on this too is you wouldn't see JT out there, but could JT go out there? I don't think so. He would get swamped with fans, and that's nothing against Jaylen Brown. It's just, you know how much more popular Jason Tatum is. So but again, great time. I'm gonna pull this one back up. Such a humble guy, and it was nice in it. I was just standing up. I was kind of starstruck, so I'm like standing up, getting ready for the picture, and he's like, let me stand up, and he's like standing up, and I'm still like smiling for the picture. But awesome, great to meet him. Dabbed him up, and he said, let's have a good season, all right? And that's what it is. But what are your guys' thoughts around that? Any questions too?
We're gonna have our manager Nick Franco reach out to the management of Jaylen Brown. We're gonna secure. We are one day going to secure a Jaylen Brown interview. I don't care if it's 2040. All right, you can come back to this 15 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that interview. Will I get that interview, Seamus? We're saying it right now. Will I get that interview? I think I will.
I don't. I believe you will. I don't think you will. I don't hope you will. I believe you will. All right. I believe we're going to, in time, have that interview, and it might not be during his playing career. Who knows? He might be on here as a retired veteran of the NBA. That would be acceptable too.
At this point.
What was that, Daniel?
I said it's a fact at this point. It's not even a thought, or maybe.
No.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I was a little bummed out about it. I think it was from how sleep deprived I was, and I was like so looking forward to it. So I was like, oh, I couldn't get the interview, but I reached out to, and I haven't got anything back yet, but we'll get that interview. Whether it be like you said, Seamus, whether it be right now or when he's retired, we'll get that interview.
But
now you have something and now you have something. And you have something more than any other podcast wants to get him. You have a pic of him, and hopefully it's gonna help him remember you whenever we're ready to do that interview. So you have something. You're ahead already of many other people that want to do those interviews that don't have anything yet.
And then we got to call Boston B Money too. You know, he's got the hookups.
He does. You're right. I got to reach out to Boston B Money. Yep. And I tell you what, yeah, I didn't see Boston B Money there, but I saw a lot of people that you guys have already been on the fan series and are gonna be on the fan series. So I saw a lot of fans there too.
That's what's cool about that group photo by the lake. The one of your favorite photos there, Griffin. Let's see. Out of this photo here,
we've had
so far. So we have the Caveman and Cody Pimentel on the fan series so far, and I know
But
there were.
I
I
feel like
believe
we
there are a
opened
couple of other people there as well, if I'm
known
not
as
mistaken.
Lily is in here somewhere. But we're gonna get back to this one. I feel like most of these people are gonna be on the podcast, and I tell you what, I'm gonna give a special shout out again to Fleezus. I can't wait till he joins. He was the comedy of the day, and I tell you what, every clips I'm trying to put out there, I'm like, geez, I get a good laugh out of this. I need to put this out there. So he's a pretty funny guy, and it was great to meet him as well.
Was
I
fake
can't,
JB
I
there?
can't wait to have them all on. I
What
gotta
is that?
say.
Was fake JB there?
No, he wasn't. So that's we gotta reach out to a fake JV and be like, hey, you gotta attend these pop-ups, man. This is your opportunity. And you know, I was thinking, I was like, do I add this as one of my questions? I had a little note card down. My questions were gonna be like, how's the recovery and what's your how are you preparing for this upcoming season? And then I was gonna ask you guys, I know you guys wanted it. I was gonna ask about the water workout. I that was gonna be my closing question because this is such when we have that interview with him someday, that's gonna be a top question because that's a favorite on this podcast, the water workout. So we gotta ask him about that. And then I was just gonna ask him what he loves about Celtics fans. Just keep it a little short, but we'll get that opportunity. But yeah, I mean, I gotta look at the day though. I feel so bad again. I was just so like tired and sleep deprived. Andrew, his dad, and I went on some rides too. A lot of fun. Shout out to Canopy. There was a lot of people there. It was hot. It was really hot. I tell you what, it
How many
was.
people do you think showed up to that event, Griffin?
I am very bad with like guessing with people wise, but I'm gonna guess around like 400.
Woo! Wow,
I'm gonna guess around
that's
400.
quite a bit of people.
I would say around 400 because I'm so bad with like estimating, but no, you know what? I'm gonna say upwards around 500 though because that line was pretty lengthy. So there was quite a few people out there though. But again, shout out Jaylen Brown, shout out 741, shout out Canopy Park. Great experience, and I swear this will be the dagger in it. I will probably stop yapping your ear off about this because I know you guys want to hear about Celtics. You guys are like, all right, I love all of this, but I know the fans at home are like, all right, we keep seeing the Jaylen Brown post, but it was just amazing.
One more thing though. First of all, the Jaylen Brown experience is just amazing. I mean, all those photos, the communal aspect of it is really the biggest thing there. I mean, you see just how much, I mean, in those photos, the community can come together for something as simple as a Jaylen Brown pop-up. And I got to mention this too. The Jaylen Brown pop-ups, they're not so much pop-ups anymore. They're basically all-day events. That's what it feels like. I mean, Griffin, you were there from I don't know what time you left, but you were there early in the morning to
we
probably
left around, like,
late
4.
afternoon.
We were there till like 4. Like that's what time we left. Like we got out of there late. And I tell you what, Caveman was driving back and to my car because my car was in New Hampshire, and the whole time I'm like, oh, like I'm up. I was so exhausted, and that is the last time I ever do that. That is the last time I ever stay up all night because I barely even remember the Jaylen Brown experience because I feel like it was a dream, especially because I was running off of no sleep. So I'm like, I can't even enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but I barely remember it because I was like knocked out. I was like zombie Griffin all day. I'm like, oh, like it was zombie Griffin moment for sure, but met some great people again. And you're right with that, Seamus. You could call those all day events. And if you guys ever see the Jaylen Brown pop-ups, go to one, have fun. He is a great guy, and he is one that I will tell you that short experience was even longer than the experience I had with Porzingis. When my brother and I walked in, we talked about this on the podcast too, and I literally just deleted that picture of us today, so I can't pull that one up. But when we met Porzingis, it was super quick. It was like, hey, how are you guys doing? Fist bump, a picture, thank you guys, we left. Like with Jaylen Brown, shook his hand, how's it going? Hey, I'm Griffin. And he was like, he signed my jersey, took his time with the signature. I feel like it's what you put into it as well. If with Porzingis, I was like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's up? Like, if I change my attitude, maybe I got a little more out of it. But Jaylen Brown he's like kind of slow with it. He wants to enjoy his time with the fans and everything. And then he was like, hey, thank you for coming out. Like, thank you for thanking me. Like, thank you for being here and taking the time out of your day to do this, you know? And then at the end, he's like, let's have a good season, all right? And even like when he said no about the interview, he was so considerate about it. And he's like looking, he's like, oh, like he gave me like the feeling that I really would if I could, but I can't. And I was like, just one question. He's like, sorry, I can't. He's like, no, not today. So like
call his agent, has to call his
Boston B Money.
people.
If you're listening, I'm reaching out to you. I gotta get his manager. Gotta call.
No, when you're that big of a star, it's like you can't do things up front with individual people. It has to be through agents and managers.
Oh, totally.
But we have a good one, Mr. Nick Franco. I'm telling you.
We do. No, yeah, but again, great time in Canada there. So, but with that being said, that brings us to our next segment. We gotta talk about it. Becomes a new year, a new 2K, and I'm gonna say this, and Daniel has a little bit for us as well. And Daniel, we could start off with you, but you see some familiar faces back there, and I'm just gonna pull this one up really quick too. You see JT, and you see some Celtics in here as well. So 2 years in a row have Celtics on the covers. But what do you have for us, Daniel? Oh, you're muted, Daniel.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
There's an Instagram account that did some research, and they found out that okay, so they did this research using ChatGPT or like AI, which I think is funny because AI itself discovered that the Shea cover is AI.
No way.
Yeah. So
graphic designers, we're done. Our jobs
2K
are
used AI to make the 2K cover. And here's how we know. This is what ChatGPT said. Yes, the image you uploaded appears to be AI generated. Here are a few clear indicators. Overly smooth details, the blurring and focus, the logos and text, and the body proportions and the lighting. So that's what AI itself gave us to show us that this image is indeed AI. So I think it's funny how we used AI to come up with the fact that this cover is AI. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, that's just some interesting news about the 2K26 cover.
And can I mention really quick? I want to say the creativity behind and I shout out to last year with this 2K cover. Like I'm so happy Tatum was on it, but the creativity is just going way downhill. Like I remember the Devin Booker one looked cool, and I feel like it's just starting to go down. You know?
No, for me, first of all, let's pull up the photo. Let's pull up the photo that. Let's see. Do we actually have it in here? Let's pull it up. So this is the actual photo. If we pull up the Griffin real quick, pull up the cover again so that people can see this. So here's the cover. You see now. Let's specify this for people. When we're talking about Celtics making the 2K cover, that's Luke Cornett and Al Horford back there. That's clearly Luke Cornett and Al Horford, and there's 4 of them. I mean, there's I should say 2 of each, but you see Luke Cornett back there, Al Horford. They're also in the forefront and the background of the 2K26 cover. But here's the photo right here. It's in the background.
I know.
Right?
I was gonna pull that up too, and it's funny. And people at home are gonna say that's LeBron James right next to him, though. But they use that.
Is that it? Or is that Jared Vanderbilt?
Or Vanderbilt? Oh yeah, I guess that is. Yeah, but people are gonna say that, and you look at this. Look at this. That's literally the same exact picture, same shoes that Luke has, and you have, if I'm not mistaken, Seamus, those are 2 Al Horfords. Like that's
they're 2 Luke Cornett's and Al Horford. I mean, I would bet the other gentleman in this photo. I mean, it could be Peyton Pritchard, it could be Sam Hauser, it could be Baylor Sharman, but in all likelihood, they utilized Al Horford and Luke Cornett. And as Daniel said, if this cover is AI, which does give off the AI vibe, definitely, with the Hulk cover. I could see a world where AI puts Al Horford, Luke Cornett back there, then just duplicates them into the forefront, and they have them in the background and the forefront. The
I
crazy
think
thing
another
about
proof
that is
that it
just
is AI is the two Al Horfords. I think I was going to mention that the fact that there's twoAls and maybe potentially two Luke Cornets. I think that's also another like just add that to the list of things that make this cover seem more and more like an AI creativity.
what's just a little what I don't understand about the cover and the whole AI story around it is how easy of a cover it looks to be when you like let's pull it up again. So if we pull up the cover here again,
Here,
which
I'll
yeah,
get
okay,
it.
Griffin, I was gonna say you have it on your end. So the cover, what's evident to me about this cover is it's not hard to make. All
No.
right, the cutout of Shea, that's a pretty simple cutout. And then you have the background all blurred, and you have the simple 2K26. It's just a simple cover. We've seen covers in the past, and Griffin, you mentioned it, a little more pizzazz. The one I think about, the
Devin
Luka
Booker.
Doncic one years ago,
Or
that one had
Devin
a little
Booker.
more pizzazz to it. I mean, all of the covers in the mid 2010s, they all had pizzazz to it. Remember, I think it was 2K15. You had Derrick Rose, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin on the cover,
Yeah.
right? Like those years, that
even
really nice that year. Then you had James Harden, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis on the
well,
cover.
all right,
So
like
much
this
more
one,
creative, but
but
they're
like
pretty easy to make. So that's why I'm not like you. We see a lot of covers out there that people make on the internet, right? Why do
and
we
Yeah,
with this
need
one,
and
it's
AI to
I have
too
a
make one of
few of
those
them.
covers? That's my. Why do we need AI to make a 2K cover? That's
higher.
my main thing here. It doesn't, especially too the background. I'm surprised they went ahead and pushed that forward because clearly, I thought I will say I think in the the 2K department, right, the company, whoever makes the game, whoever makes the cover, whoever is designing everything, and
Ronnie 2K.
well, right, but it's a whole team of people. We know this,
No, yeah.
but ultimately with 2K and the cover, how did they not know Celtic Nation would point that out? Right.
Yeah.
For me, when I
They
look at the
studied.
cover, I immediately go, well, that's Luke Cornett and Al Horford. And I can understand the 2K community out there. They look at teams and let's face it, if you're making video games, you might be a basketball casual. You might make a basketball video game, but your calling is maybe programming or designing or something else. It might not be basketball. You might be working for the world of basketball, but it might not be about basketball for that person. I just wonder if in the meetings nobody did anybody bring up that hey, maybe people point out this is two Celtics on the front of this cover, and it's clearly four of the same or two of the same Celtics on the cover. Like in Celtic Nation, I just see that as, oh, we're gonna point that out immediately. We're gonna recognize that immediately. Yet I can see within the 2K community, or at least the team of people who made the cover and pushed all the design through, I could see a world where they go, oh, they're blurred, people don't care. And for me, I like the cover. I gotta say, Cornette and Al Horford on the cover.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I like the cover from that perspective. That's what I'm saying is I like the cover, the fact that we have
Two.
two guys on our team. It's like, hey, you're not really on the cover, but you technically are. It's like your bodies and your only their faces. Their faces aren't on the cover, but it's like there's your body shape blurred on the cover. I just wonder if within the team of people designing for this cover and pushing it forward, if any of them went, you think Celtic Nation, you think the Celtic fans out there in Massachusetts, because let's face it, they're doing this out in California. You think any of these, or Texas, who knows? You think any of these Celtics fans might notice this, or the NBA community? Like, oh yeah, we're gonna notice it. That's why I'm more in favor of if we pull up the JT cover again, uh, right here, you notice the background is very neutral. And I'm not a huge fan of this cover simply because the saturation of the color, or rather the color on the cover,
Actually,
the saturation is just not there. It's a very bland cover. Yep, there you go. But
I
it's
got it right
neutral. It's a neutral background. You can go, oh well, he's clearly at TD Garden in front of the crowd, yada yada. The other cover,
but
there are
like
other.
something
I've
like
never
football.
right.
Like
That's
that's
neutral as
what I'm
well,
saying.
and a
This
little
is
more. There's a little
this
more
is
pizzazz,
creativity. This
and
is
that's a little
creativity.
different.
But I like the Devin Booker one. Like that one's nice. I go back to like you said, Seamus too. Some of the fan made ones too. Like I saw one with Anthony, like I'm not saying Anthony Edwards should be it, but like I saw Anthony Edwards with some wolves in the back. Like that's so creative. But what were you gonna say along those lines too, Daniel?
Well, I have some screenshots of some like designers that made some like alternative covers for Shea. This is one of them,
See, that would be
which I think
great.
it's
Now
much
this
better.
is the problem with the NBA and 2K and corporations in general. So many good designers exist out there in the world. Many good designers exist out there in the world. And Daniel, that's a perfect example of where and how they exist. Right there, that cover. This should be the cover. How did
Exactly.
like this
you go
is from
from
a real designer, a real person, somebody who's putting legitimate thought into it versus
this.
2K, they go, oof, let's hit the AI button and come up with this. This is an abomination. I love it again from the fact Luke Cornett and Al Horford, they're in the
I
cover.
agree,
But it's an
But also this
abomination
one.
compared to all the great
like
designs
even
out there.
this one.
And we see this with jerseys too. A million great jersey designs out there, only for the bland nonsense and the crazy nonsense to come out every season when it comes to specifically the city jerseys of
And-
each and every team.
and
But
look at this
there's
one.
another one. But
That
I got to bring up too. Well, I'll bring up another. We got two screens.
There we go.
Here's
The
the
Devin
here's the
Booker.
Booker.
That's what we need. Look, see, you see the cactuses in the back. You see his.
That's a good cover.
beautiful- That's one. That's
We can
one
get it to
where
focus.
that's top tier. That's like, all right, that's what we need. But I will say, I love Jason Tatum, and I'm not like bashing on it because I'm happy about this. But why couldn't we get something like that with Tatum, like some green clovers coming out of the background and stuff like that, and like the ones that you pulled up with Shea, like. The creativity just has been going down and down. But I'm gonna pull it back up.
Can we
again.
get the TD Garden and the bridge in the background, like a little
Yeah,
bit of parquet and some clovers and some, you know how designs are. It doesn't have to be uniform. It can be
or like
very.
or like what Daniel just pulled up. Can we get a few shots of Tatum? Can we get like it like being more like a cover, not like just a picture that you're gonna be like, oh, like this is a picture. This is literally a picture of Jason Tatum. Like this is like.
My thing about 2K is I'm sorry everybody. I haven't bought 2K this decade. I just haven't. I haven't, but here's the thing. 2K is riding on the cultural nuance of everybody is going to buy this game year after year, year after year, year after year, specifically teenagers and children, right? Or at least their parents will buy the game for them. They're getting lazy. Okay, they got lazy last decade, but they're getting
Since
ever more so
2010.
lazy. I mean, look at that. And even those games, right? You go back to 2K10, 11, 12, the early 2010s. A lot. Oh, I'm sorry. This is like the 2K11 and 2K12 for me, the gold standard. Just totally the gold standard all the way. The minute you pulled that 2K12 cover up, Daniel, I can just picture the intro, right? I just picture the intro and the song and everything. But
Like, look at
2K's
this,
gotten
man.
lazy. All of those games included something new, right? They included something new. They look different each and every year.
19 even. Yeah, that was a
And now because
But
it
then
started with the
80.
gameplay. It started with the actual substance of what was given out. And this is another thing. In the mid 2010s and even late 2010s, there was a red theme, right? A red theme with 2K. You know, oh, red, right? Now it's all over the place, right? I want the pizzazz, but it's bland. It's kind of all over the place. Doesn't have as much of a. That's the thing about 2K. It's a staple now within the basketball community, or at least even the video gaming community. It's a staple to the point where they can just throw out their logo and the overall brand look doesn't matter as much. It doesn't matter that they're not red or any of that nonsense as they were back in the mid 2010s. But they're getting lazy. It started with the production, right? It started with the actual substance of what they were putting out for each and every video game that came out, which was the same video game year after year, right? It started to become the same programming. You basically they basically highlighted the code from say 2K16 and went, whoop, copy, paste, we're doing it for 17. That's what it felt like year after year, starting in the late 2010s. But ever more so, I will say the Devin Booker cover in 2023, or rather 2022, going into 2023, great cover, right?
Yep.
Great cover. But since then, terrible covers. Terrible covers. They're getting lazy on the gameplay side, and now they're getting lazy on the design, the graphics,
talking about
everything
a Tatum,
outside of the video game, the
Tatum
cover.
cover.
that would have been a perfect one right there.
Yeah, I need more green, right? The Tatum one, the Tatum cover, the saturation of it, like when you go to edit a photo, right? You turn the saturation. If you turn it all the way up, all the color just pops, right?
Yeah.
It's as if they went the other way on
Well,
that spectrum.
and may I
The
say,
Tatum cover looks like they turned the saturation down. I don't understand why. I like color, right? Like give me some color, right? I don't want to see gray and beige. It's like if I want to see gray and beige, I mean, I can just look at my socks and my pants right now. That's what that's literally like that's all I need to look. I don't want that on a 2K cover. I want that on a wall or a
well,
fence.
may I say too, I feel like the thing is they don't care. They're like, people are still gonna buy the game regardless. But I look at it and I'm like, all right, can we just make it look cool? Like, this is a cool game, and that would boost your sales. I mean, you see this when you walk into a store and they're like, oh,
But
that's
see, that's
cool.
where
Like,
they're riding on just the cultural importance of themselves and them. Because let's face it, too, they own the market. There's not another basketball video game out there that's competing with 2K. There was NBA Live and just nothing. No matter what you bring up, whether it's something on the phone or something that another company makes, it's not going to reach the level of what
no.
2K is. They've cornered the market, they've consolidated the market for themselves. And that's why they can be lazy and cut their budget for their video game because ultimately it's like, oh, if we spend less on design, if we spend less on gameplay, we actually make more money because people are not spending less on the game because the gameplay's worse or the cover's worse. They're still buying the game because we're the only game out there. We're the only basketball game out there, I should say. 2K is the only basketball game out there. They're still making the same amount of money off the sales, but now they're going to cut from their budget when it comes to design, gameplay. Now they're making more money because if you cut money from design and gameplay and you're still bringing in the same money you would from the market in general without the design and gameplay, it's like, oh, who cares about the quality of that? They're making more money. And that's the bottom line is you'll see companies and corporations, they'll cut corners, they'll take away quality and it's a trade-off. That quality turns into money for themselves. However, it can go the other way too. It can go the other way if you don't pay attention to it in time, right? If you don't pay attention to the quality, people start to recognize that as we are right now, people will stop buying the product, and that's when you have to reinvest in the quality and actually put that dollar back out there from your pocket and not save it in the pocket, right? Because that's what's happening with 2K right now. Instead of spending that extra dollar for design, spending that extra dollar on gameplay, they're keeping that extra dollar, not exhausting it for that, and still taking in the revenue of sales from all the games they're still selling because they've cornered the market. They're the only basketball video game out there that actually matters and has cultural importance to the basketball community. And it's one of those things where I look at it and go, I thought we had government laws for this in place. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
Well,
Seamus, like you said, it's the only basketball game out there for now. I think
Somebody
if
has to
one
come
game
along
release,
and make a better one because it's the
I think
opportunity is there.
the
Okay, 2K
NCAA just
has the
announced that.
sponsorship, the funding from the NBA, but it's like the quality. If you hit home at quality over time, it's like we've seen it in the past with Nintendo and Sega. Like Nintendo, one of the two used to be the shit, right? And then it became, oh, the other one's quality
yeah.
starts to uptick and they take them over. But sorry, go ahead there, Daniel.
Yeah, the NCAA just announced that they're coming up with a NCAA basketball game within the
Ooh.
next 2 years. I think. I think either next year or the year after. You know how there's like the NCAA college game going on, right? Like college football.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna make one, but for basketball. So
Ooh.
hopefully, I'm not crossing fingers or anything, but hopefully it comes up to be just another game that we can play, something that makes us forget about how lazy 2K has been the past like 3 years when it comes to like not even coverage, just the gameplay itself. Like even the
Yeah.
gameplay itself is like has not evolved at all. Recently they just keep adding some like unnecessary stuff and like they're not listening to the fans and they're not adding anything that the fans want. And I
No,
think
yeah.
that with the new NCAA basketball game is going to draw fans further away from 2K and make 2K actually try to be more creative with their gameplay and game style and covers and everything. I could go on with this for days, but from 2K14 to 2K 17, like there was a run for like red covers, and I think we should kind of like go back to it a little bit. You see this with LeBron, how creative it is with LeBron in the background.
It's better than
2K15 with the city in the background. You see KD on the cover. 2K16, which Seamus mentioned, the infamous three-person cover with AD, Curry, and Harden, and then 2K17 with three versions of Paul George. I think if 2K goes back to this level of creativity, I mean, I don't understand what they're being lazy for. Yes, people still buy it, but is the point not to make more money? You would
Yeah.
you would make more money if you make it more creative. If you go back to those previous styles, you'd really be making like tons of millions of more dollars than you're making right now, which I
Well,
think should be the point.
Well, even MLB The Show, like
Yeah.
these are more creative.
Yeah.
Like, but I have to say, I'm gonna pull this up for you guys again. What do we rate it on a scale through 1 through 10? We'll go through. Seamus, go first.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna get the bias out of the way of Luke Cornett and Al Horford
Yeah.
on the
All right,
cover,
yeah.
right? It's an abomination because of the color and the fact it was made by AI, or at least we believe it was made by AI. Because I'm sorry, there are too many good designers out there to do a cover with AI, and you see all the covers in the past, a lot more colorful. And Griffin, you mentioned it. The Shea Gilgeous-Alexander cover and the Tatum cover, they're basically just photos of those guys. They're not crazy designs. I mean, I'm sorry, there are more cutouts on our YouTube thumbnails than there are that cover.
Totally.
There were I can guarantee the last thumbnail and even the thumbnail for this podcast right now, all right, when people are tapping on this podcast, the thumbnail is going to have more cutouts than that 2K cover. I'm guaranteeing that we put more work into our thumbnails than 2K did onto their cover. That's absolutely outrageous to me. Absolutely outrageous.
So
And
what are you going 1 through 10?
somebody, well, here's my thing. Somebody has to challenge 2K to make a good video game. I think we're on to something with the college basketball game, but somebody really has to challenge 2K. They're just, it's one of those situations where you have everything, you control the market, and that's why capitalism is good, folks. It's because it's a competitive landscape within the economy, right? If you want to make money, you have to be good, right? That's what capitalism is all about. Yet when you don't have to be good as 2K, right? Right now, they don't have to be good because nobody's challenging them. That's what happens. When nobody is challenging you within a market, there's no reason to up the quality in anything. So that's why somebody needs to challenge 2K to make a better video game. And that's why capitalism is great, but also sometimes if you consolidate a capitalist market, that's when you can just sit back and do nothing because people are still going to buy your product regardless of the quality of it. And that's where 2K, they could make more money by putting out better design, better gameplay, but their philosophy is, oh, we're saving money by continuously putting out, well, they're still getting the revenue sales from the game they're putting out anyway. That's a static number for them. But then they're saving money by not spending it on design and not spending it on gameplay and all of the grand hoopla that comes with the cover. But Griffin, I know you asked me to rate the cover 1 through 10. I like to rate things in relevance with other things. I'm trying to think of all. I mean, we've seen quite a few 2K covers here today. I want to bring up the 2K13 cover before we end this conversation as well. I want to say I'm going to give it a 5.8 objectively. Okay, if I was doing it from a Celtic fan perspective, I would give it a 7.8, an 8.2, something like that. Because Al Horford and Luke Cornett, that personally, I'm going. I like that cover. That's pretty cool right there. They at least get the blurred body shots in there. Not, I mean, if we had blurred body shots on 2K, we'd be over the moon. But just from an objective stance of somebody who is looking at it in the NBA community, it's a bland cover. It was made with AI. 2K didn't spend much money on it. We spend more time on our thumbnails. I don't even think it deserves a 5. It should get a 4.4, something like that. 4.3. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. What about you, Daniel? What do you give it?
Well, before I rate this one, I just want to say that the other covers, actually, let me just bring up the other 2K covers. There's the WNBA edition that was released as well. And then there's also the Legends edition or something like that.
Yeah, the Carmelo Anthony one.
Yeah, the Carmelo Anthony one.
Yeah,
I'll say that I like the Melo one. I think the Melo one is nice.
I like the Melo one.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, Seamus, what are your thoughts on that one? I like that one a little bit better.
I like that. I like that one.
Simple.
The only
It's still
thing
simple, but it's better.
It's pretty simple. I'm a little. I gotta say, like the simple ones are okay, but I'm a little turned off by just static photos without more editing behind it. Because
Yes.
Daniel, you pulled up that photo of the Shea one earlier, where there's like 4 of them. And there's 4 different versions of it.
Yeah,
And that's the thing too about Shea is just had an amazing season. All right, just had one of the best seasons in NBA history for anybody. Won the Western Conference, won Finals MVP, won the Finals, won the MVP. Had a great season. Why can't we get a cover where like it's like this, but just imagine this cover plus Shea holding the MVP trophy, plus Shea
like
holding the
that.
Finals MVP trophy, plus Shea holding the Larry O'Brien trophy. Any of that, right? I want to see more people on the cover, and it doesn't have to be more people like this, right? The 2K13 cover, which I wanted to bring this up. Gold standard for me. Another 2K11 to 2K13, like that's my golden era. I feel like, right, for playing 2K.
Yeah.
But not like this, like not multiple people, but multiple of the. It could be the same person, right? If Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, if he's on the cover, can I get a big head of him, right? Like the big head, the big headshot. Can I get him shooting as I saw on that cover? And can I get him holding up the MVP trophy and the Larry O'Brien trophy and everything he's accomplished, right? He's done so many great things in the NBA this season. Why can't we put that on a cover? Why does it need to be a static photo of him just dribbling and Luke Cornett and Al Horford duplicated by AI is just surrounding him? And I got to say too, though, our on that cover, I'm going to bring it up again here. This is something I also am just going to point out about this. I understand AI cover, but what situation of the game is this? Where does this appear? It looks like it's in the half court, yet you have Luke Cornett and Al Horford defending some, like, okay, Luke Court, like, just look at the angle of everybody. Is this in transition? Is this in half court? What situation of the game is it in where you have 2 defenders behind a ball handler defending like that, and then you have a guy in front of them, but then a guy turned the other way? I'm just looking at that going, that's bad defense. That's terrible defense. I mean, you have 4 defenders right there, and 3 of them are turned the wrong way. So I'm just looking at that cover too, going, what? Even the game situation, right? It doesn't make much sense for the cover.
No, totally. But what do you rate it, Daniel? 1 through 10.
I think I rated a 4 out of 10. Yeah. And I just wanted to that's my rating. That's a 4. But just a bit of news regarding. I'll bring back my Carmelo Anthony. Sorry about that, but Melo is now the only player to have been on the cover of NCAA March Madness, NBA Live, and 2K.
Wow.
He's now the only player to be part of all those 3 games. And also, I wanted to show you the Angel Reese one, which I personally do not think she deserved it. I think it should have gone to Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
But I think just another one where Seamus could just go off and me about how like terrible of like
they use the same design. Oh my goodness. That's the same thing. Yeah. That's the same thing. At least you can make a case with this one that it could be in transition. She just blew past a defender and 2 defenders are trying to run down the court and get her. But even then, I don't know if you guys saw the highlight from yesterday or saw the Sky Mystics game from yesterday, but there was a play, Angel Reese, ISO, 1-on-1 at the top of the key at the end of the quarter, just loses the ball immediately. So I don't even know if this is realistic. She's more of a low post. You know, she's a rebounder, not necessarily somebody who's going to drive past everybody like crazy. Yeah, that's the thing about that, too, is it probably, I mean, Shea, he's dribbling the ball, too. So, I mean, both of them are dribbling the ball, but it's the same cover. That is the same cover, essentially. That's even more, I'm sorry, but that's egregious, especially when you're raking in the revenue they are from that game. It's egregious to not spend a little bit more on, hey, maybe let's not do AI.
Like let's go with that route. But no, I agree with you guys.
Lastly, like if you ask me now, I said I rated the Shea one a 4, But if you ask me to rate this one, the Leave No Doubt edition, I think that's at least a 7, in my opinion.
I would
It's
say
the one
that
where
just
they mix
Okay,
all
so
three.
this is official, correct? That cover?
Yes, it is. It
Okay,
is.
this is literally what I'm talking about right here.
Yeah. I think this is a
That
7
is
in my
what they
opinion.
need for the main
that's like
cover.
an 8. That's like an 8. That's not bad. I don't
Yeah.
mind that one. That's an 8.
Yeah, I like this one. This is my favorite one out of the 3. So there's the Leave No Doubt edition, the Superstar edition, the NBA edition, and the WNBA edition.
Well,
But out of those 4, this is my favorite one.
totally. I tell you what though, the Shea one, that gets a 4 from me too. Like a 4.1, 4.2. Because that's just like that's come on. I like the only reason it gets up there too, like I would give it like a 3, but like, you know, you have Luke Cornett and Al Horford, I'm gonna be like, oh hey, look, Celtics legends on there, you know. But you know, at the end of the day too, it's like that gets a 4.3. Like that's come on. But I wanted to pull this up too for us really quick is, well, Seamus had it for us, but Daniel, you had something funny to say about Luke Cornett. He is number 7, and would you want to say why he's number 7?
Well, me and Griffin were talking about this before we started this, and it was just a funny moment where Luke Cornett says in an interview where that the reason why he wears the number 7 is because he wants to be at least a third of the player that Tim Duncan was during his time on the Spurs. I think that's probably one of the funniest things Cornett has ever said or done. Knowing him as a Celtics fan, Cornett is, if you know the Celtics with Cornett, then you know Cornett is like the funny guy, the glue to the team. And I think this just adds on to the list of the funny things Luke Cornett says. Not to make fun of him, not to say he can't be a third, but it's just like funny that he holds himself up at that high of a standard.
And may I say, Spurs fans, I'm gonna pull it up again. You guys are getting one heck of a player in Luke Cornett. He's funny, and I love that about him. But that's
Him and Wemby on the court at the same time is gonna be something crazy to see.
And they just traded for Kelly Olynyk. So
Yeah.
their front
They did?
court is now Kelly Olynyk. It's Kelly Olynyk, it's Luke Cornett, and Victor Wembanyama. That's who they got running down in San Antonio in the Western Conference.
That's
Wow.
I got to say about Luke Cornett, though, the thing about, there's a lot of intangibles on court with Luke Cornett that the Celtics are unhappy to give up, right? His putback ability, his offensive rebounding ability, his ability to be in the right spots defensively, positioning himself well, right? Luke Cornett, all the intangibles on the floor. But the number one thing the Celtics are really giving up in letting Luke Cornett walk is that personality. That is the main, whatever he does on court, right? He could be a nothing player on court. I would still want a guy like Luke Cornett in my locker room, even if he doesn't play. Because
especially a season like that, may I say, Seamus, especially a season like this where, and I'm going to say this for Celtics fans too, this is a season where you're not sure what you're going to get out of it. This is a bridge season. Like I said, if we get to the NBA Finals, oh my gosh, that's just extra. But this is a bridge season. You know, you're not expecting a lot out of this season. This is a developmental season, as we'll pull up some more things later on in the podcast. But this is a season where you're kind of looking at it and you're like, all right, we need a funny guy like Luke Cornett to brighten up the spirits, because believe it or not, the Celtics might be playing a lot of 500 basketball. And that's what we were disappointed to see in January. But that might be the truth. We might be seeing a lot of 500 basketball. And what will brighten us up? Some Luke Cornett funny stuff, like that's what we needed in this team. Because I will tell you what, we were miserable back in January watching 500 ball. This year, it's going to be like, whoa. This is, it's not going to be the same Celtics that we have been used to seeing in 2023, 2024, when they won the championship. Even parts of last year when we played good basketball, we're going to see more so December, January, where it's not atrocious, but it's 500 ball. So we need a guy like Luke Cornett, and that's what we lost, a funny guy to brighten up the spirits.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're going to have to find another personality. I'm not doubting the personalities in the locker room necessarily, but I
say
gotta
what?
say, replacing somebody like Luke Cornett, extremely hard. Extremely
I
hard. It's not just
I
a player, it's a personality you're replacing.
I think I know our personality. All right, because I've been watching a
Is it
lot.
Niang?
Nope, I've been watching a
Okay.
lot of our, Instagram stories, and it's no other than the lawnmower himself. That's his nickname, by the way, Josh Minot.
Why
This
not? My not?
Why not? Why not? All right, we have this picture when he right before the news broke about him getting signed by the Celtics, and then you have him in Boston. I mean, I'm loving the IG post by Josh Minot. Why not? Why not? Like, and then right here, we're gonna pull this up too. Just him signing his contract. He looks so hyped. Again, Luca Garza right here too as well. But why not? Why not? I'm gonna pull this back up, and I'm loving the IG stories. I just have to say I'm loving the facial expressions. Can we have Josh Minot be that player? That's just a little tidbit I wanted to pop up really quick. I know we have that in the script, but that's all I have for it. But could that be the guy, Seamus and Daniel?
I
Do
feel
you guys
like
think Minot?
he's gonna play the role of maybe fun young guy, right?
Fun young
Maybe
guy.
fun young guy. Because Luke Cornett, there's a little bit more of a veteran presence with him. I could see Josh Minot, like Jaylen Brown, taking him under his wing. It's like
Yeah.
he's like kind of the goofier, not he's not goofy like who's a goofy player out there? I mean, you could say Luke Cornett was a little goofy, I would say, but he's not gonna be. He's gonna be maybe
Like
a
Jimmy
a goofy
Butler.
young guy, right? Playing
Like
that
Jimmy Butler.
role. And when I say
Oh, like
goofy,
a
not
Jeremy Sohan, I feel like, or
I
Jared
don't know.
McCain. Jared McCain, can we go with?
Yeah. I don't know. Jared McCain is a
He's
unique
his own.
personality
He's him.
he could have an entire media career outside of just
Oh,
basketball. I
totally.
mean,
Yeah.
he could retire from basketball right now, and
Fun.
he'd be all right.
I'll go with O'Shea Brissett then, like a O'Shea Brissett.
No, yeah, I think that's
vlogging.
fair.
I
But I would say I almost see Minot. I understand he's going to be in his 4th year in the league, but he's almost just that fun young guy. Maybe like I'm trying to think of who on the bench the last couple of seasons.
he reminds
Brissett maybe is a good example.
Yeah,
I was going to say Springer, but Springer was he's not a
honestly a Springer
fun guy. It was very neutral. But
Yeah,
I feel like
but
I feel like players liked him. So I could see the same for Minot. I don't know how to describe the personality. I just see him as a young guy who's kind of fun, but he's not. It's not the same as Luke Cornett, where Luke Cornett is outwardly
weird,
like
He's a
joking
a weird guy,
himself, and
weird guy.
he's just not like. It's like he understands. Like, okay, here's this serious situation. Over here, I'm going to be light with it. He's going to be light with the media. I feel like Minot, he's going to be the type of personality, right? If you're mining the whole fun aspect out of his personality, I feel like it's from more of a young guy, like Jaylen Brown with the popcorn in the car type of fun, right? Where Jaylen Brown, he's a rookie in 2016, and all the vets put popcorn in his car. Like that's where I feel like Minot's going to be, right? Like JB. I want to see JB, Tatum, Derek White, whoever. I want to see them put popcorn in Josh Minot's car. I'm sorry, Josh.
Do we have a picture of this? Or
we definitely have a picture.
Let's go
let's
find
try to
it.
cue that up.
Let's go find it while I tell you one. I do watch a lot of Jared McCain's vlogs, and I think it's so funny how Kyle Lowry treats him. And he's like, yo, you didn't do a full rookie season. You're still a rookie this year. And he's like, no. And I think it's so funny. Him and Kyle Lowry's bond. Like, and it's so, and Kyle Lowry hates the guy. It's a love-hate relationship. But that's my favorite, like, rookie hazing thing. And you could tell it's not nearly as bad as it could be, like with Jaylen Brown popcorn car. We gotta see this. What? Just
this is first of all, this is one of those moments where I'm like, let me go check if this photo is actually real. It feels like an AI photo. Like when I just look at it, I'm like, why does this look like what? We just talked about AI 2K covers for the past half hour. It's like now I gotta check if every AI photo, like, I don't know if you guys been seeing some of the AI videos out there lately of the interactions and events people make, but I think future generations are likely not going to understand history in the same way because they're going to be like, oh no, I thought this happened in history, and we're gonna have to explain. We're gonna be
Well,
old
that was
heads in the
AI.
future. We're gonna have to explain. No, 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 that's AI. That's what AI looked like. That's what AI did in that time period. That never happened. That's gonna be a lot of the conversation in the future. Is that never happened,
So
right?
did
But
Seamus get AI'd with the popcorn, or did this?
of course not. I know this is not AI. I confirmed it wasn't AI. But if we can pull it up here, this is a pretty like when you see this when we see that when this photo pops up on screen. I mean, it is one of those you're gonna have to get a new car. Maybe you might have to actually get a new car if you're Jaylen
That
Brown.
that's rough. Are you guys personally? Are you guys pulling up in a popcorn car? Like even if you're like getting all the popcorn out, are you guys pulling up? You're gonna smell like popcorn everywhere you go. But Daniel, are you pulling up in
Well,
the
I'm
popcorn?
sorry, but every time you pull up to the movies, it smells amazing. Why would that?
I
You're
mean,
not. I mean,
yeah,
every
yeah,
time someone hops in your
I
car,
think
they're like,
so.
huh, "Where's the popcorn?" Not bad.
All right, here we go. Here's the Jaylen Brown pop. Like there are multiple photos of this, but this is one of the best ones. Here we go.
Jaylen
This
Brown.
is. I'm sorry. The passenger is gonna have to just wipe a little bit of that off. Just kind of shoo it to the
I
side. Some of
wish
that
we could have
popcorn in
a
there.
video of this. I bet this is so funny.
This is also on video too. He took a. That's why I had to look up if this photo was actually real or not because from what I
Actually,
remember, this
do you
was
have a
back in
picture?
2016, 17.
Do you have a
All
picture of
right.
his face, like him reacting to it?
Let's see.
That
No,
is a
we do have some videos, and this photo actually comes from a video, but we would have to take a
that's
little bit
a
of time to
that's
queue
a
up these videos. But maybe I could here. I'll just pull it up for everybody. You know how we do on here. We'll just pull it up for everybody. Oh, uh-oh. We'll pull it up for everybody on the iPad here. Let's just do that. Let's do
yeah.
that. Okay. If I can get this video to play. Oh, here we go. Okay.
All right, let's see this.
Well, I don't know if anybody could see that. There's a lot of glare. Yeah, there's a lot of glare on this.
Yeah,
Eh,
I go look up after the video, of course. After the video, go check that video out of Jaylen Brown with the popcorn.
or while we're talking, we'll eventually pull it up for everybody here.
Well, I'm gonna pull this one up one more time as we're gonna transition Daniel out of here. But you see this one right here, and Seamus, I have to say, rookie hazing is crazy. I wonder what we're gonna get with some other rookies as we now are gonna transition into a two-man show. But I think that gives our little bit on them though. But we got some other rookies here too. We got Mari Williams and Ugo Gonzalez as the two rookies are joining the Celtics team. And I've been hearing a lot of good things about Ugo as we're going to be talking about Summer League. Should I run down the roster really quick and I'll queue up the pictures and then we could dive into Summer League? You guys want to hear the roster? Let's do that, Seamus. Let's do that.
100%. This roster, anytime we get our hands on a new Celtics roster, I think the community, they want to know about it.
All right, so let's queue it up. All right, we're gonna start off with this. We got Baylor Shireman right here. Obviously, second year with the Boston Celtics. You guys obviously know him from last year. Baylor, it's gonna be his year to shine, Seamus, isn't it? And next up, we have Jordan Walsh, won the championship with the Celtics his rookie season. Going to be joining the Summer League team as well. And then we have Miles Norris, became a two-way guy last year, is also going to be joining the team this year. Now we have Ugo Gonzalez, as you see, just drafted him, first-round pick, number 28. Then you have Amari Williams right here. Obviously, another guy we're all going to love to watch in Boston, as this could be a big man guy, as we might see a whole lot of him this year. And then we have right here Max Shulga, another guy we drafted later in the second round. And then we have Aaron Smith is his Aaron Scott. Sorry, Aaron Scott here, who was undrafted and picked him up for the summer league. We have Zach Hicks right here, another guy undrafted, picked him up from the summer league as well. And then we have Hayden Gray, picked him up again, undrafted. And then we have Ben Gregg, another undrafted guy. And then we move kind of a little more veteran guys, I want to say. We have Jalen Bridges here, who I believe, drafted by the Suns, and he has a chance to make the roster spot. Like they want to look at him a little more. So there's something at stake with Jalen Bridges, I heard. We got to dive more into it, but definitely a guy. Kenny Lofton Jr., this is a guy who I'm stoked to see, and I can't wait to see what we have in store from Kenny Lofton. This is going to be a fun guy to watch this summer. We also have right here Kendall Brown. I got to meet him in the G League. I'll actually pull something up later in this show while we're talking about Summer League, because I'm big on Kendall Brown, and I actually got to meet him. And then we have Isaiah Wong right here, also another guy who's been known in the league, and this is another guy who, I don't know, we could do something with him. But Seamus, you got the roster right there, and as I'm going to try to find my Kendall Brown thing. So if you wanted to talk about the roster really quick, and a lot of undrafted guys, we always see that, but I need to know, and I should know this as the main Celtics guy. I think this might be our roster for the main Celtics season. Obviously, some of the guys, like I'm just going to pull up a Ben Gregg. If he doesn't do great and they don't see a lot of things with him, he might not make the team, and you might call a guy back up like James Banks, for example, or Jordan Shackle. I'm not sure how it goes with that, but I'm hoping we see Isaiah Wong, Kendall Brown, maybe Kenneth Lofton Jr. on the main Celtics team, maybe Jalen Bridges. I don't know. I think that's what you kind of go with. I think a lot of these guys will play for the main Celtics, but I'm not sure. But Seamus, go on as I try to find this.
Well, this Summer League roster,
I
will. Okay, well, that was pretty quick.
A signed picture of Kendall Brown, as you
It's
see.
the same
here.
picture, too.
It's the same picture.
It's the one you brought up on stream.
Yeah, it is. Let me find it really quick. Yep, there we go. Right above me. So Kendall Brown, I got to meet him. He was chill, and it'll be interesting. If he is in Maine, I'll have to get an interview and be like, hey, I saw you when you played for Long Island last year. It was kind of the same situation with Miles Norris. I saw him when one of my first ever Maine Celtics games, I saw him when he played for the Hawks G League team. And I'm like, oh, well, you're on our side now. Same with Kendall Brown if he joins, obviously, the Maine Celtics. But Seamus, go along.
Well, the Summer League roster for the Celtics, I want to point out 6 players on the roster are solidified within the organization in some way. And when I say solidified, I really mean for training camp. And I'm not meaning long-term necessarily, because at the top you have Jordan Walsh, Baylor Scheierman, Hugo Gonzalez, Miles Norris, Amari Williams, and Max Shulga. They're all guys who are either going to be two-way guys, standard players. You'd say Walsh, Scheierman, Gonzalez, likely standard players. And then you have your two-way guys, Miles Norris, Amari Williams, and Max Shulga. Now, I will mention about that, even though we picked Amari Williams and Max Shulga in the second round, and Miles Norris is already under a two-way contract, brought in Miles Norris halfway through last season for, they essentially swapped Ant and Watson out of that two-way spot, as you know, Griffin, for Miles Norris. Even though they own the two-way spots right now, and I'll say this, Amari Williams and Max Shulga not officially two-way players yet, so they still have to ink their deals. But we speculate Norris, Williams, Shulga, those are your 3 two-way players. It's possible come training camp, somebody else outworks them and takes their spot as a two-way guy.
Totally.
It's completely plausible. And one of those players might be on this Summer League roster.
And may I say, Max Shulga might. I look at this. Obviously, we don't have a lot of sample size, but I look at, you look at the links we have on there. I think the weakest link on there is Max Shulga, I have to say. But Summer League is the time where anything's proven. Like, there's guys out there, like, I'm going to say the notable ones is Kendall Brown, obviously, Isaiah Wong, and obviously Kenneth Lofton Jr., and then obviously Jalen Bridges. Like, those are 4 guys that are gonna really be fighting for one of those two-way spots, and I look at one last year, like in Ron Harper Jr., who played for the Maine Celtics. He was a guy who was fighting him, and I look at that roster, him, Jay Scrubb, they were Tristan Amaruni, they were guys, but notably Ron Harper Jr. and obviously Jay Scrubb, they were guys that were really digging and clawing for that roster spot. And when I was able to even talk with Jay Scrubb, he was like, I wish I could have joined the guys, and on the team, but it was a blast in Las Vegas, and he was happy to play with Maine. But he's definitely on to new things too, as he's no longer on the summer league team.
Yeah, and you mentioned the names you mentioned. I mean, they're I almost used a word that proven, not quite proven NBA guys, but they've been NBA guys before, right? Kenneth
Yeah,
Lofton Jr. He's been on an NBA roster before, and these other guys, Jalen Bridges, Kendall Brown, Isaiah Wong, they've maybe
those are
been on
guys.
NBA rosters now as two-way guys, but in the group of Jalen Bridges, Kendall Brown, Isaiah Wong, and Kenneth Lofton, they've all been on NBA rosters in some way or another, whether two-way guys or a standard spot. So people know them, right? We know those guys a little bit. And that's where you look at them and go, okay, the Celtics are definitely trying to look at them for a potential two-way spot, or even if they really impressed, they could grab a standard spot at the end of training camp. But some other names in this group of names, Hayden Gray, he fascinates me because he's somebody out of the University of California, San Diego, right? So, and he was I believe he only went to college for 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So
May I say, he
so
averaged.
how do you even find this man if you're Brad Stevens or the Celtics front office? I mean, they're watching University of California, San Diego games, and they pinpoint a guy who's coming out to the league at, I believe he only played. Let me look this up real quick. I believe he only played 2 seasons at San Diego. And that's the thing that's very interesting to me. So yeah, 2 seasons at San Diego. And technically he was a junior and a senior there. So he I don't know if he only had 2 years of eligibility, or I would say he had more than that, because the class doesn't always align with the eligibility, right? You could be a senior with more years of eligibility. But Hayden Gray fascinates me because he only played 2 seasons at the University of California, San Diego. And he's somebody that comes from a place you actually have to dig deep and find, right? These other guys, right? Say, for example, Ben Gregg or even Aaron Scott. They're at St. John's and Gonzaga. Those are 2 schools. You're going to see those 2 guys throughout the college basketball season, especially Aaron Scott, a Rick Pitino product, right? Former Celtics head coach Rick Pitino. Aaron Scott comes from Rick Pitino's program. Anybody who comes from Rick Pitino's program, you might know him a little bit, right? You might know who that player is because of how famous Rick Pitino is. So guys like Aaron Scott, Ben Gregg, and even you go down the list as well, Zach Hicks from Penn State. And I believe he's the last one I mentioned of the whole roster. But Aaron Scott, Ben Gregg, Zach Hicks, they come from bigger schools: St. John's, Gonzaga, Penn State. Big Ten. You have a Big Ten school in there. You have a Big East school. And then you have a West Coast Conference school in Gonzaga. But if we all know Gonzaga, a highly touted basketball program, one of the best in the country at the collegiate level. But you have those other guys who played at big schools. Hayden Gray, I mean, the Celtics had to find this man, right? He only played 2 years in college. He played at San Diego, or rather UC San Diego. That's a find, right? These other guys you might see on TV on the weekend, right? Fox Sports, ESPN, wherever. You're not going to see UC San Diego on ESPN or Fox Sports. You have to go out and actually watch those games, show up physically to those games, buy a certain streaming package to actually watch those games, right? I'm willing to bet not every UC San Diego game was televised this year.
Well,
I'm just saying. Maybe it was. I should say televised to a large audience is what I meant to say there. And that it's just one of those players where I just go, how do you find somebody like that at a UC San Diego who's played 2 years? That's also fascinating. Only played 2 years. I look at a guy like that and go, why didn't you play 4 years in college if you're coming into the NBA playing in the summer league? Couldn't you make more money in college? Or are you trying to go overseas? What's going on here? And that's the interesting part about summer league is people don't pay attention to summer league because, let's face it, I mean, I would say the casuals. I mean, the diehards. We're going to be watching Summer League, folks. We're going to be covering Summer League.
We will be
But-
covering Summer League all summer league season long for you guys. Don't worry.
which is until July 20th. So we got 11 days. But regardless, casuals, they don't watch Summer League. They don't pay attention to Summer League. But what's evident about Summer League, if you do watch it or pay attention to the rosters and who's actually on the rosters, it's as competitive as the NBA playoffs.
Oh, totally.
And it's not the same level of basketball. The basketball is not high level. It's not NBA playoff basketball. It's not NBA regular season basketball. The execution, the ability, it's not the skill level in Summer League. That's what people like to pay attention to, is the skill level and the ability, right? The skill level in Summer League is a lot lower than the NBA regular season. I mean, that's just a given. But the competitiveness, all right, the competitiveness. These guys are trying to make a roster.
They are.
And this is where, okay, we had
What?
breaking news, but it's not about players. We have from Chris Haynes, breaking: James Jones is departing the Phoenix Suns to replace Joe Dumars as the NBA okay, so he's going to become the league's new executive vice president. Not a big deal, okay?
I'm
sorry. I thought it was a little bigger than that. I started to read it. I started to read it. I thought it was a little bigger. I'm sorry, folks. I thought
Every
it
time
doesn't
we
really
come-
matter.
scares me.
We don't even know who's in this position. I didn't even know Joe Dumars was in that position, and now he's not. It's going to be James Jones. James Jones, I got to say. But Summer League, right? The competitiveness at Summer League, these guys are really trying to make a roster. All right? Each and every one of these guys on the Summer League roster of the Celtics, of any other team, they're trying to make a roster. And we've seen in the past guys make an impact from going from undrafted to making a standard roster just from what they were able to do in the Summer League, and then furthermore in the training camp. And it's all a domino effect, right? If you play well in Summer League, you might get invited to a training camp. And it doesn't have to be, say all these guys play with the Celtics. It doesn't have to be with the Celtics, right? Maybe Kenneth Lofton has a great Summer League with the Celtics, and another team out there, say the Pelicans, go, we want to invite you to training camp. And it's just a domino effect of, if you play well in Summer League, you might get a training camp deal. And if you play well in training camp, you might get a two-way spot, or you might get a standard spot. And the most notable story of that is back in 2019, Javonte Green and Max Strus at Summer League in 2019. Javonte Green and Max Strus, they were in a battle at training camp for that last roster spot. And we know in time, we had two good players there. I mean, we picked Javonte Green over Danny Ainge in the Celtics front office, picked Javonte Green over Max Strus, which in time looks, Max Strus might be a little bit more valuable than Javonte Green, but two NBA players right there at the end of the Celtics roster, both undrafted. And funny tidbit about Javonte Green, the first NBA game he ever attended was his first preseason game with the Celtics. So he had never been to an NBA game before, and his first NBA game he had ever attended was a game he was playing in with the Boston Celtics in preseason. But Javonte Green and Max Strus, they showed up on the roster like this. It's like, oh, who are these guys? Right? Max Strus was out of DePaul, and Javonte Green was out of Radford. Okay, Radford. Radford is the only people know Radford as the 16 seed in the NCAA tournament. That's what people know Radford as, right? That's where people see the Radford University, the University of Radford. That's the only place anybody ever sees Radford, is the 16 seed in the NCAA tournament, maybe the 15 seed, folks. But that's where Javonte Green came from. And Max Strus, he comes from DePaul. They show up on the roster like this, undrafted guys, and all of a sudden they're battling for the last roster spot in training camp. And it really turns that quickly for a player if they can play well in the Summer League, if they can play well in training camp. And again, Summer League is just ultra competitive. It might not be the same skill level. It might not own the same stake, or I shouldn't even say stakes, right? Because for these guys, the stakes are high. But it might not own the same skill level and ability as the NBA admits to the public, right? Summer League. But the competitiveness is just off the charts. I was watching the California Classic the other night, and the Utah, the Salt Lake City Classic, the two Summer League circuits before the big Las Vegas Summer League circuit. Every team is invited to Las Vegas, but Utah and California, only a few select teams they're playing right now. But I was watching that the other day, watching all the film from that. the competitiveness is just off the charts. The effort is off the charts. Like these guys are diving for balls. They're
And
picking up at a high point of attack. They might not be the best defenders, the best offensive players, but they are trying their damnedest to make an NBA roster. And that's what you always have to respect about Summer League. And that's why I got to say, Justin, he's our big Summer League guy, Celtics Talk Weekly. That's why I respect, his view on it. And that's why I love, his perspective on Summer League and wanting to cover Summer League is these guys, this means something. Okay. Like people think it doesn't mean anything, but this is where it starts for some players, right? We're going to see, it's inevitable that this Summer League out in Las Vegas, now we know all the top picks, they'll go on to be NBA players. We know that. But there will be undrafted guys. There will be guys that were drafted in the second round who make their mark at Summer League and all of a sudden make their way onto a roster after training camp. And next thing you know, they're in a rotation. Maybe they're starting. And then they're getting paid $15 million, $20 million a year. And they're an actual solidified NBA player. We've seen that happen in Summer League in the past. We're going to see it this year as well. And to me, Summer League deserves a lot more respect because this is really the spark, right? Right here, Summer League can be the spark for some of these guys' careers moving forward. It's just not evident who that will be, but it will play out. And again, the competitiveness, I feel like I'm Tim Tebow. Remember, everybody remembers back to Tim Tebow's press conference with the New York Jets. He said excited 45 times. That's what I want to say about Summer League is how competitive it is. I want to say it about 45 times so people can understand that guys are trying at Summer League. And, this is what really annoys me too about the NBA community sometimes is the NBA community, they'll want one thing, right, over here, but not, they'll contradict themselves in another area, right? Because, and what I'm talking about here is in the NBA regular season, people are talking about, oh, well, guys aren't giving the proper amount of effort. Guys are taking off games and they're just not coming to play every single night, right? Yet when we get to Summer League, everybody's putting in effort all the time because they're trying to make an NBA roster. And people go, oh, well, these guys are scrubs. They're bums. I don't care about them. And I go, well, what do you want? Do you want competitiveness or skill? You hate no effort and skill in the regular season. Yet when it comes to Summer League, you hate effort and no skill. So what do you want, right? Pick one or the other, folks. You can't have it both ways. You want effort and skill? Watch the NBA Finals. That's the highest rated portion of the NBA season. That's why the NBA playoffs are so desirable. The skill level, the execution is up here, as well as the competitiveness, the effort, everything. The NBA regular season, there's going to be a trade-off. Summer League, the NBA regular season, there's going to be a little bit of trade-off with effort with guys, maybe leaning more so on their skill during some occasions, some nights than actual bulk force effort, right? But then in Summer League, you're not going to get as much of that skill and that ability. You're going to get more of the effort, the competitiveness in Summer League. So I got to say, I'm excited for the Celtics Summer League. Summer League's already going on. It's been going on for almost a week now. It's been going on since July 5th.
We haven't seen our first Celtics Summer League game, though.
The Celtics used to play in Utah. They used to fly out to Utah, play 3 games in Utah, and then fly down to Vegas and play a couple games there as well. The Celtics not invited to the Salt Lake City Summer League circuit anymore. I mean, it's been a while since the Celtics were in Utah. I want to say maybe since 2017, 18. Wow. I feel like 17. So Tatum and Brown, the Tatum and Brown Summer League, I think was the last time the Celtics were actually invited to the Salt Lake City circuit. But the Las Vegas circuit, everybody plays every single year. And that's what we're waiting on right now for the Celtics actually make their debut in Las Vegas. And it's a new Celtics Summer League team every year. But
I do want to, for some of the undrafted people too, I wanted to throw out some stats there. So we'll start off with Aaron Scott again from St. John's. I kind of, here's Seamus. This is a funny thing about him too. Here are his stats. Points per game, 7.7. Rebounds per game, 4.9. And 1.1 assists per game. But do you want to hear something funny? Check this out, Seamus. He's a football.
I'm out. No. I already went. Nope. Take it off.
That was on him.
Take it off. That's so funny that this appeared on broadcast. I already went over this with Franco. Look, I'll pull up
Is it
Let me
not
try to
him?
pull up the text here.
Is
I
it not
I
him?
texted Franco and I
Because
go,
I keep looking and looking. Is that seriously not him?
no, it's not him. It's not him. I kept
Okay,
texting Franco and
time out. I messed up,
no,
guys.
no, watch. Look. So
I
Franco and we're texting, right? And he has disregard the other text. We're talking about trades and whatnot. But look, I sent this to Franco. Look at this.
the
Look,
exact same one.
because look, we're talking about summer league in here, and we were talking on the phone. We're talking about summer league, and I sent this to him, and I go, "Wait a minute, Aaron Scott, one of our guys, played at Ohio State. What is
That's what
this?" And
I
then I
was
look
thinking.
at it again, and I go, "Wait a minute, these are two different guys for sure.
All
These are
right,
definitely two different. They have
Aaron
the same
Scott.
hair.
I am
They have the
so
same
sorry.
hair.
I'm so sorry, Aaron Scott.
No, that's funny though. I look, they have the same hair. So if you pull up the other Aaron Scott. Look, same
Yeah,
hair. That's the exact same hair.
I do apologize though. I was like,
Same
wow,
hair,
we like
but
one playing
face,
football.
everything else totally different.
Well, I am sorry about that. Let's move on from Aaron Scott though. But good stats. Good stats. I would say good stats, you know.
But I'm sorry. That was a great that was a great segment, Griffin, because I'm sorry. We're not the only people who've done this. Like you
Yeah.
just did it on the broadcast. I did it in text with Franco. I'm like, oh, our guy, the Aaron Scott, he played for Ohio State. What
Yeah,
is this?
I've
I'm
been
sure
seeing them.
somebody
I've been
else is going to
like,
do the same. They
wow.
watch the segment for them. It's like, hey, Aaron Scott, different Aaron Scott.
Comment
But
down
hey,
below if you guys thought that too. If you guys looked him up, but I was looking and looking, and the past few days I've been trying to do graphics. I'm like looking and looking, and I'm like, because I see so many different pictures of him too from the side and stuff. And I'm like, oh, so I wonder if he's like, if he doesn't make it here, is he gonna go to football? It's like, what are we doing? Like, oh, what route? Because Baylor Shireman's another guy though who was big on football. Can we try to pull up the Baylor Shireman football picture? Because
course.
he was a guy who was actually played. I don't know if it was college level, but he was a good football player in high school, though. I know that for certain, but I don't know college.
I will say this though about Aaron Scott. Either one of them, right? Either one of the Aaron Scotts, they both play for my teams. All right.
They
I'm an
do.
Ohio State football fan, folks. I love Ohio State football. Love the program in Ohio State. Right. I've been to Columbus before. I love Ohio State football. So I got an Aaron Scott for the Buckeyes. Right. Just won the national championship last year. The
And
Natty.
you got
Great.
Aaron
Great.
Scott for the Celtics.
And
now.
then right. Exactly. So two Aaron Scott. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? It'd be either team.
You know, if he ends up in Maine, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna be like, hey, how many times do people, you know, mislead the Aaron Scott in Ohio State for the, maybe Maine Celtics Aaron Scott, but
I got to say, Aaron Scott for Ohio State, national champion. All right. He played for Ohio State last season.
I guess I'll have to ask him about that. But I'll pull up the next one too while we're trying to find that picture for Baylor. Ben Gregg, 9.1 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, and 1.3 assists per game. Another guy from Gonzaga. Guy there that, a bigger school. So gotta love that part, kind of following in the footsteps of Anton Watson.
There are so many good Baylor Shireman football photos. I thought it was going to be one of those things where you look up
he was
a Baylor Shireman football photo and you have to go find you have to find one of those grainy old school, like this was taken 10 years ago photo. It's been reprocessed a million times. No, there's a couple good ones out here. And we'll have those up in a second here. Got to cover them up a little bit.
This is one, Seamus, where I'm very high on Zach Hicks. I think he has good stats to provide, but obviously stats aren't everything. You could be a player who averages less. Obviously, with Hugo Gonzalez, he's a guy who, he's not showing a lot, but he's killing Celtics camp. He is dominating. But Zach Hicks with 11.6 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game. So I'm also big on Zach Hicks. I think he's a guy, obviously, like you say, Penn State could be a name to watch. Maybe not even with the Celtics. He can move on to another team. Who knows? But again, you pulled up Hayden Gray, 11.2 points per game, and 3.1 rebounds per game and 3.3 assists per game. So kind of lower level, a little better stats, but he could be a guy as well. And I do want to mention with Kenny Lofton, he's a guy who, again, could be fight like we narrowed it down to a couple of guys, Seamus, that Kenny Lofton, Isaiah Wong, Kendall Brown, Jalen Bridges, those are guys who could really be either fighting for a two-way spot. Like, again, I feel like we could say Amari Williams is kind of safe on the Celtics two-way spot because we need a center, but could Miles Norris or Max Shulga be a guy where you're like, all right, one of these guys could fight for it? But I'm big on Miles Norris as well. But
we just had some news drop. Not big news, Griffin, all right? Not breaking free agent news, but it's just some news, all right? The 2025 NBA Cup groups have been announced.
Oh.
So do you want to hear who's in the Celtics group?
Let's hear who's in the Celtics group.
All right, here we go. The Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic,
Oh, that's
the
a tough
Brooklyn Nets,
one. Ooh.
and ready for the last one?
Yep.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Hey.
So you have the Sixers, the Nets, the Pistons, and the Magic in East Group B.
I tell you what, this is the year where I'm like, wow, the Magic could really beat us. Like, I'm looking at it, Seamus, and this is the one year where I'm like, wow, we own the competition. Obviously, could this be a year where it's like a bridge year where they're like, all right, might as well get some money. We have a lot of young guys on the roster. So this could be a year where we're really actually fighting for the cup. I have to say, Seamus, this might be a year. We have a lot of young guys. We have Luka Garza, Josh Minott. We're going to have guys like Amari Williams on the two-way contract. This could be a year, Seamus, where we're actually trying to compete for the cup because we have a lot of younger guys on the team, and it's kind of a bridge season. But yet again, I'm looking at that, Seamus, and I don't think we're the best team in the cup. I really don't. I think I don't know, obviously. I like I said, we haven't had a big sample size with the season, but again, it might be like we might be the second best team in our I don't know, obviously, but I see you queued some up.
Well, that's the one tournament, right? That's the one tournament this season. The Celtics, like that's where the NBA Cup, there's a lot of nuance to the cup, right? Or it can create a lot of nuance as time moves forward. We've only done it the last 2 seasons. The NBA has only held the NBA Cup, and it wasn't even called the NBA Cup the first year. It was called the NBA in-season tournament, right? We're going to be the OGs in time. We're going to be, I remember when it was called the NBA in-season tournament and not the NBA Cup, right? But they've been doing it for 2 years now, the NBA. When it gains traction over time as a year-by-year type of thing, because we've only done it 2 years now, there's not a tradition. Like, there's going to be tradition, right? We're forming it right now. Right now, there's not the sense of tradition, but it's forming. It's forming. It'll be formed year after year. By year 5, 6, 7, we'll have more of a tradition going on in the NBA community when it comes to the NBA Cup. But right now, what I think is interesting is we're thinking, well, the Celtics, they're likely not going to win the title in 2026, but can they maybe grab a trophy in the year of 25, 26, the season, right? Can we grab a trophy? Can we win the NBA Cup, right? That's kind of a good consolation prize, in-season tournament, NBA Cup trophy. Oh, you're not winning the title, not competing in the playoffs. Maybe we can swipe the cup away. Maybe like the Bucks last year. The Bucks had a nice little feel-good moment, even though we all knew, the Bucks maybe not contenders. Damian Lillard, that whole situation has gone awry and went even more awry later on in the season. But even at that point, you knew, the Bucks, I'm a little shaky of a team. They won the NBA Cup over the OKC Thunder, and man, the Thunder really missed out on their trifecta, right? The NBA Cup. They didn't win the NBA Cup. They could have won though the NBA Cup, the Western Conference, and the NBA Finals. That's the trifecta in my mind right there. But the Thunder lose that NBA Cup game. Little feel-good moment for the Bucks for sure and their fan base. Now it's clown for that's the thing. The rest of the fan bases will clown the tournament and go, oh, fake, whatever.
Yeah,
once
but then when
teams start to win it, right? Again, this is what I'm saying. Year 5, 6, 7, beyond a decade, right? Once teams start to win the tournament, there will be some value behind the NBA Cup. And well, first of all, there's already value that there's competitiveness in the early portion of the season. When the NBA is competing with the NFL at the beginning of the season in October, November, December, the NBA Cup is slotted in November, December. I mean, it spans a month from basically last year. It was November 12th to December 12th. I mean, it was a month long tournament. And we all know how it goes about it. The regular season coincides with the NBA Cup, but it's going to be a tournament in time that I think there's going to be a little bit more stock put into it because, say, for the Celtics next year, they're not competing for the title, but hey, maybe we can win the NBA Cup. Maybe we can randomly win that, right? It's like even with the non-title contending roster, maybe you can win the NBA Cup. And that's a nice little consolation prize for your season, and it's a good memory, right? You want to be. I just want to point this out for the basketball community. 29 teams are not going to win the championship this year. All right, Griffin. Like it's every year. 29 teams don't win the title. Along the way, regardless of whether a team's winning a title or not, or even just winning, as fans, right, watching the product of the game, there needs to be something valuable for fans to watch and something entertaining, right? Something that creates good memories,
Totally.
right? Because 29 teams won't win the title, right? But through the journey of getting to that one team winning the title, can those 29 other teams create good memories along the way? I think the NBA Cup will do some good in that regard. Already does some good for the NBA's relevancy in that time of the year and some of their ratings at that time, the competitiveness and everything. But the NBA Cup in the future, I think it's going to own a little bit more validity. Now it's seen as another Mickey Mouse tournament. It's like, oh, the Lakers and the Bucks won, and the Lakers and Bucks. That's the thing too. If the Thunder would have won last year, I think the stakes would be amped a little bit for the NBA Cup, because right now we're looking at the NBA Cup and saying the two winners, right, the Bucks and the Lakers, they were clown teams the rest of the year, right? The Lakers the rest of the 23-24 season, I mean, they wound up as the 7 seed in the playoffs. And then you have the Bucks last year, they wind up as the 5 seed, and they both go out in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and it's seen as yeah, you had LeBron and Giannis, the Bucks and the Lakers win, but they weren't that great of teams.
No,
It's like, oh, it's just a Mickey Mouse tournament. Oh, it's just fake tournament, right? But once real, like if OKC won it last year, real teams start to win it, starts to become a little bit more of an accolade, right? Right now, it's not an accolade. When it becomes more of an accolade, that's when we're gonna start to see fans care a little bit more about the NBA Cup. And you never know, this season the Celtics, the last 2 years we're going, oh, we have something much bigger to play for in the finals. We don't care about the cup. Now it's maybe the cup, maybe we can be a little bit more competitive for the cup.
And may I say, it's the younger guys too, like Josh Minott, obviously Luka Garza not having the most biggest contract. $500,000 is a lot of money.
Let's face it too. Yeah, if you're a roster with a lot of minimum guys, the Celtics will likely be next season, there could be, I mean, I don't want to put a number on it, but a third of the roster could be making $2 million. When you make an extra $500K, that's not nothing.
That's not nothing. Like you said, Seamus, that's not nothing. So it's one that but you look, Seamus, and I said this, are we even the best team in that one? No, we're not. The Magic are, I think, because you look at it, obviously, a lot more to say, a lot more moves to happen, but as of right now, on my roster card, too, like on my seeding chart, I have the Magic over the Celtics this year. I do. And
I would too.
It's just how it is. I love
the Magic could be the first seed in the East.
They can. So
I think people are underrating that a little bit right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that obviously when it gets closer and moves go. But I think you have the Baylor stuff for us too. Let's.
I do.
Let's do this.
I do.
I'm
Here
ready.
we go. Here's Baylor Shireman playing football Shireman at Aurora. So Baylor Shireman, he's one of those athletes. He's a multi-sport athlete, right? Not just a basketball player. Maybe play football as well. But here's some Baylor Shireman photos. Number 3. Gotta ask Baylor, right? The whole numbers selection, right? Because everybody on the Celtics, I feel like they can't really get to the number they probably want, right? You know, think about how many retired numbers with the Boston Celtics. You see Baylor Shireman, number 3 right here. Dennis Johnson, the 3 for the Celtics, retired. But I wonder if there's a little bit of a story behind the number 3 for Baylor Shireman, or a story behind the number 55, right? You see players wear different numbers in different sports. Right. I wonder if it's as simple as, coach just gave me this number. Yeah, right here. Luke Cornett, number 7. A
third of Tim Duncan.
Remember remember we had on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago, it was Luke Cornett wanted to be number 9 and was too scared
Yes.
to ask and wound up being number 40 and winning the title at number 40. Like these Shireman photos right here, number 3. You see Shireman. It's just Shireman in a football. What do you feel about Shireman in a football uniform? Does it look right to you? I feel like at first it looked a little weird to me, but I kind of.
Is this your first time seeing this though?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. All right. So I've seen Shireman in a football uniform since around when he got drafted from the Boston Celtics. So I'm gonna say for me, it's not the weirdest, but it's definitely it's like, wow, Shireman, could you have maybe been a football player? But no, obviously you see his talents in basketball way outweighing. And may I pull up this one, Seamus? There's him in a Celtics uniform. So it's definitely a lot different. You know, it's a sport where his face is seen now. So hiding behind that helmet, you're not known. Like, I feel like that. Basketball, everyone knows your face. Football, it's like, obviously they know Tom Brady and everybody, but a lot of the players you're not going to know because again, I'm going to pull this one up of Shireman. You could, you see his face, but like you barely even know who that is, you know? And then here you see him screaming out there, just living life.
Basketball is definitely more of a personal brand type of a sport. Basketball players are like what you just mentioned right there is completely correct. In basketball, people can see the players' faces. The personal brand, the player brand is much more important in basketball than it is in football.
That's why even with baseball, you're wearing the hats and helmets. Like you're making sure your hair is good. Tatum having one of the best hairlines in the NBA. So you got to do that. But Seamus, so I think we already mentioned we're hyped about Summer League, and obviously we got on a little Baylor Shireman tangent right there. But you heard the stats too, and I'm excited to see kind of those 4 players that we mentioned, because I think you could already say Baylor Shireman on the roster, Jordan Walsh on the roster. Then you kind of get into Ugo. Could he be a 2-way guy, or is he going to be a guy on the roster but being able to play in Maine as well and get some development? Because I'm hearing this about Ugo Gonzalez. I'm hearing that he actually is showing a lot in the training camps, and Baylor already mentioned it too, that he's a guy that to look out for. He's a guy that I'm hearing you gotta watch out for obviously you gotta watch out for Shireman, but Ugo Gonzalez, I'm hearing he's a real defensive threat even at the practice facility. So he might be a guy to watch out for. Miles Norris, I think he's a guy who and a lot of people are gonna say, where's JD Davison? Where's Drew Peterson? They are not eligible for Summer League. So Drew Peterson,
I gotta apologize to people on that one. I kept saying JD Davison, big Summer League. Apparently,
JD Davison is on the roster. Obviously, right now he'll go to training camp. He'll play a lot in the preseason games. Like, that's a guy you'll see play a lot there. So I think he's a roster lock. What about, are you hearing anything on Drew Peterson?
I don't think JD Davison is a roster lock because he's non-guaranteed.
Yeah, okay.
He could easily be a player by training camp or after training camp the Celtics look at and go, you've been here for 4 years. Maybe he has just an okay training camp. Maybe there's another guy they like, and the Celtics wait the salary and don't pay JD Davison too much money.
I'm going to say it.
Hey, big guy.
I think these are the two. I think these are the two to watch out for. I really think, though, Isaiah Wong, I think he's a guy that kind of transitions more into that main Celtics slot, maybe get a 2-way somewhere else. Same with Kendall Brown. But I heard, I don't know the source for this, but I heard that Jalen Bridges is a guy to watch out for on the roster spot. Maybe JD Davison and Kenneth Lofton Jr. He's a guy also that could be battling for those. So those are 2 guys to really, really keep your eyes on.
What's interesting, though, I will say about the Summer League situation with the Celtics and the roster at the end, JD Davison is on a standard deal. I think it would be pretty hard for any of these guys to hop JD Davison for that standard deal because of the fact JD Davison's been around for so long, and I don't think anybody on the Summer League roster is going to make just the most outstanding, amazing, incredible case to attain a standard spot over JD Davison. That
No,
and if
I
anything, it's a two-way spot. My main focus here is you have Amari Williams, Max Shulga. You drafted if you're the Celtics. You're likely going to keep those guys on two ways at the back end of the roster, right? Those are your two
may
out
I
of the
say
three.
though?
But
May I
that
say,
third
Shane?
two-way spot, Miles Norris, I'm sorry, you had him for half of last season. He could be a player that's not here
Well,
come regular season. He could be replaced
yeah,
within the two-way hierarchy. He's on a two-way contract now, but it's because it was a 2-year two-way contract. That
yeah.
could
Well,
completely
may
change.
I say too? I think another guy. I don't know. I feel like Amari Williams. We obviously need a center, so he's a good guy there. But I feel like Max Shulga
Well,
is kind of a dice tossed into the ring too. I
well,
feel
no,
like
like
he's
those guys are going to be on two ways because that to
yeah,
me they
but
don't. Again, it's going to take just an outstanding summer league circuit for any of these guys to make the
oh,
standard roster
totally.
because the
They're
two-way
gonna have
spots
to
are
dominate.
so valuable for keeping players around who you want to keep and develop, but is not going to play in the rotation whatsoever, not even close to that. That's where Amari Williams is going to be valuable because if you use one of those two-way spots on a big man, it's an extra big man within your rotation
It
potentially,
is.
and they can only be around the team for 45 days in the season. Now they might have changed that rule. It used to be 45 days, might be 45 games now. They might have
I
changed
think
that
it's
around.
45 games. Yeah.
It used to be straight up 45 days. It's like if you practiced with the team and you didn't have a game on that day, it was just that counted as a day. It
Whoa.
used to be that a while ago. But I'll also mention this: why summer league's important for these guys as well. If they make it to training camp with a team and the team waives that player, if that player plays for that team's G League team, they make an extra $50,000. Now, that's something that also may have changed within the last CBA. That's something that I have knowledge on from the CBA prior to the 2023 CBA. I believe from the 2017 CBA, if I'm not mistaken. But if a player, and this is connected with summer league, but it's more for training camp. If a player plays with a team in training camp and that team waives them and they join that team's G League squad, they make a $50,000 bonus. Which, hey, that sounds pretty. That again
It's like,
doesn't sound
no, that's a
crazy to
salary.
LeBron
That's
James
a
or Kevin
salary.
Durant or anybody out
No,
there,
but
but
that's a salary.
50,000 is not nothing,
That's not nothing. No,
and
but
that's a bonus. It's
that
a
is.
bonus too.
Well,
Some people that's their yearly salary. That's just a bonus if you get waived in training
that's a
camp.
yearly
The
salary.
team waives you and you sign with their G League team. So a lot of these guys, it's not only about we're playing in summer league. It's about making it to training camp. And some of these guys, it's not only about we're trying to make the roster. Everybody's trying to make the roster, but even if you get waived and they travel up to Portland, play with the main Celtics, you get an extra 50K at
It,
least. Might be a little bit
it
more
works.
now, I would say.
It works. But have you heard anything on Drew Peterson? Because I am unsure on what his situation is with Boston. I have not seen anything, heard anything. So I want to
Let's see.
kind of see with you because I've seen some comments too about Drew Peterson, and I am honestly kind of unsure about that. So we'll kind of check that out for you guys as well.
Yes, because Drew Peterson, he is a free agent.
Okay.
However, the Celtics, I don't want to misspeak here. I don't want to give out false information.
What do we
Public
have?
when it comes to
We'll just call this is land out a rumor. This is a rumor.
so they didn't. I don't think he was. They didn't. Let me think. Let me think here. He was. Let me look it up. So Drew Peterson, this is something where it's like you're not going to really find too much information on because he's
Yeah.
a two-way guy entering free agency. Here's my thing. So he is a restricted free agent, and the Celtics did not extend him the qualifying offer, which from I want to say for some I want to say if they're not extending him a qualifying offer, wouldn't they renounce his rights as well because they have free agent rights to him? But long story short, Drew Peterson is still a free agent right now. and he's supposed to be a restricted free agent, but the Celtics did not tender him a qualifying offer, which we'll have to get a little bit more information.
So
on that.
unsure still. We'll give you guys breaking news if anything drops.
So basically, what we know is the Celtics declined to extend Peterson a qualifying offer. And okay, thank you, RotoWire. Thank you for the information, confirming me right now. I wanted to say this out loud, but I wasn't sure about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Celtics, right? Drew Peterson comes into the offseason. The Celtics own restricted free agent rights over Drew Peterson. However, the Celtics did not extend a qualifying offer to Drew Peterson. Therefore, Drew Peterson is now an unrestricted free agent. So, from my best guesses, Drew Peterson likely won't be back because if the Celtics wanted him back, they
maybe a guy. Well, may I say,
send him the qualifying offer? He might be here on the summer league squad. Oh, wait, he's ineligible. Is he ineligible?
Ineligible, I think.
Why would he be ineligible?
Because I believe he's played 3. I don't know. I don't know if he's ineligible, but I think he's a guy that they're going to kind of look at like a Jordan Shackle. Jordan Shackle was ineligible for Summer League. This is a main Celtics guy. I've been talking about him a lot. He is a guy who I think that after this year, he might go overseas. Who knows? He might make another.
I don't know why Jordan Peterson. Drew Peterson. Another philosophical mind there. But Drew Peterson, I don't know why he would be ineligible. He's only played 2 years in the NBA.
Yeah, so I don't know. But he might be a guy.
But that's what I'm saying. He's not on the Summer League roster. The Celtics didn't extend the qualifying offer. He's an unrestricted free agent now. They could bring him back. Another two-way deal later on down the line. It's possible, but
I think he's going to be more
so an unrestricted free agent. Celtics.
To
me, he's a name that if the Celtics wanted back, or if any team wanted him right now, he would be on a roster.
Yeah, he'd be gone. Well, this is what I think. I think he's going to be like a Jordan Shackle type player. I don't know if Jordan Shackle will be back with the main Celtics. He might be overseas or he might be with the main Celtics. But I feel like Drew Peterson is going to be a guy who he just gets an offer with the main Celtics and he just rides with them this season. Who knows? But that's pretty much all we have on that. And we'll be giving you guys coverage from the Summer League when it starts. I'm excited.
I'll just say bottom line, it doesn't look as if the Celtics will re-sign Drew Peterson.
I think main Celtics might be an option, or if that, maybe somewhere else too. Who knows?
Well, here's what I'm trying to think about too: is the qualifying offer. Is it possible what the Celtics can give him in the future, two-way wise with a contract? Is that less money? Now the two-way contracts actually don't count towards the books. You just get 3 of those, right? Like they're basically exceptions. You get X amount of spots and money to spend on 3 two-way guys, and it's the same amount of money. Two-way guys make the same amount. It's possible that Drew Peterson could make less money via signing another two-way contract in the future, and that's why extending him a qualifying offer makes no sense, because I'm not sure if that qualifying offer entails the qualifying offer. I don't know if that's a two-way deal. No, right, if you extend a qualifying offer, that might be for a standard roster spot.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can extend a qualifying offer in a two-way sense. I'm a little blurry on that one.
No clue.
But that's what we get into here on the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, and that's what we get into on Celtics Talk Weekly, because no other program, other than maybe the front office show with Keith Smith and Trevor Lane, other than that program, I don't think anybody's talking about qualifying offers and can you extend them for two-way guys and make them a two-way guy again, or is that qualifying offer turn into a standard deal if he accept? Because my whole thing is, if you extend a qualifying offer and it's for a standard spot, why would you extend it to a player you would want on a two-way deal? Because then he would just accept the qualifying offer and then be on the standard roster. So I need to study up on that a little bit, the qualifying offer and the two-way spot, because I know how it works for regular players, right? But when it comes to two-way guys, that's where it's a little opaque.
No, for sure. Well, this is going to lead us to a topic that we're not going to talk a lot about, but Al Horford, Seamus, Al Horford. we are still yet to have any breaking news on Al Horford. And as soon as we do, we will give you guys a whole rundown of it. We'll give you some Celtics Nation Rise breaking news and talk about.
Okay, so you can extend a qualifying offer
Okay.
to a two-way guy. We knew that, but the qualifying offer can be a 1-year two-way contract with a guaranteed amount, such as around $85,000. So basically, yeah, you can extend the qualifying offer to a player who's on a two-way deal, and that qualifying offer, that be basically you're extending the offer of you want to be on another two-way deal right now. So the Celtics, Drew Peterson's gone, folks. He's likely gone. The Celtics did not extend him a qualifying offer, which would have been another year on a two-way deal. So the Celtics went, sorry, Amari Williams, Max Shulga, and Miles Norris. They're the 3 two-way guys right now. I doubt those are going to be the 3 two-way guys to start the year. I feel like Miles Norris might not be around, just saying.
I don't know. He's a guy where I'm kind of high on Miles Norris.
Maybe he's good, but here's my thing is just like the history of this usually is not. I mean, I should say some guys make it. We just saw JD Davison. We're talking about him. He made it multiple years on a two-way deal.
Yeah,
so it's certainly possible. Taco Fall made it. No, he didn't. Did he? No, I don't think he made it to the next.
Who did?
Taco Fall.
Taco Fall. No.
I think he was only on a two-way deal for 1 year.
Yeah, and then he played regular. Was it regular? Yeah, he was
with the Cavs, right? He was with the Cavs for a little bit. Yeah. So
yeah,
I the two-way spot. I like coming back is not happening.
I'm saying Miles Norris, yes, because we have had a small sample size of him. So I'm gonna say yes.
Well, that's my argument for why we might move on from him is you have the sample size already. That two-way spot is essentially for guys you want to take a look at or develop or do both, right? You want to, let's see what this guy can turn into or let's try to develop this player. With players you've already taken a look at or tried to develop in some way, shape, or form, like a Miles Norris, like a Drew Peterson, like those guys, it's more likely they move on than somebody new. Right, it's more likely that those guys, you moved down the line because we already saw you. They've already seen Miles Norris. They're going to see Miles Norris last season. They already saw Miles Norris last season for half the year. They're going to see him at Summer League. They're going to see him maybe in training camp as well. And at that point, you should get a good sense of if that's a guy you want to develop or not.
Yeah,
and so that's where it's at. You have to prove yourself within that time. Yeah. Miles Norris is in that prove it stage right now, and it's possible he doesn't in the Summer League and
he only played
training camp.
He only played 3 games with the Celtics last year, and he was on the tail end of the main Celtics. So there's not they didn't see a lot with him. So that's why I'm like I wouldn't be shocked if they kept him on another two-way. I really wouldn't be shocked if they brought him back.
No, I wouldn't be shocked either because I mean we've seen guys make it multiple years on a two-way. The thing that's interesting about Miles Norris too, he's got an NBA body, right? Like the build of himself is very, like some of these guys will look at in Summer League, and some of them will just stand out as non-NBA guys from just a physique perspective. Like we'll look at guys and go, "Oh, their arms are a little shorter. Oh, they're just a little short in general, or maybe they're a little clunky, right?" It's like Miles Norris is very long and athletic. That's what you want to see in NBA players.
Drew Peterson, I feel like Drew Peterson, he was long and lengthy, but he was very
a little stiff.
Yeah, a little stiff and skin and bones. But look, this isn't the best picture I could pull up, but where did it go? There we go. But with Miles Norris, look at his arms. He has a little more meat to his bones, like he's more of an athletic build. So who knows? But Seamus, are you ready to a little Al Horford? Do you, just a question, because we're not going to dive deep into this. I know we're already late in the podcast, but obviously we heard some news with Brad Stevens. It's probably unlikely that he comes back. I feel like this is a rumor. I'm not confirmed, but I think it's between Denver, Boston, Golden State, and retirement. That's what I'm hearing.
He's not going to retire. There's too much money on the table for him to retire.
There's not. I would say he's likely to go to the Warriors, but I feel like the Boston return is very unlikely. What are your thoughts, though, Seamus? And you could just give me a yes or no with this. Do you think Al Horford is back on the Celtics this year? Yes or no?
I for some reason there is a feeling inside of me that he will be back. And
Really?
what's yes, because
I-
I just
Okay.
feel like there could be more off-court value than just my thing. Okay,
But
there might
would
be
he-
more off-court value
would
for
he
Al to
start?
stay in
Would
Boston.
he start though? Would he start if he came back though? He would have
Probably
to.
not.
He would have to.
But why?
But I agree. But why? He would
Why
have
in a
to. He
season
would
where you're
have
not
to.
really competing?
No,
Here's
no,
my
no.
thing with Al
He would
Horford.
have to, but I don't like that. But I don't like that because he's old for one. For two, that's a lot of wear and tear on his body. And yeah, he's gonna teach the younger guys. But it's like, do we want to send him out there and start? I think the guy who you start is Nemias Queta or Luka Garza.
No, I agree. If
I
you're gonna
look at
try to, if
this-
you're gonna go through a bridge season, why screw around with playing Al Horford 25, 30 minutes a night?
when
That's
he's
just
gonna retire the
nonsensical.
following year. Like it's
But that's where I wonder if, I feel as if there might be a world where the Celtics invite Al Horford back into the facility and Al Horford signs a deal
coach
with the
maybe.
Celtics. But look, Al Horford, is it possible the Celtics and Al Horford, what if both sides, does it make sense for either side to strike a deal with one another? That's where the logic in all of this, there is a spiritual side, right? Where you go, well, Al Horford, he's a champion in Boston. He has all these off-court communal events he can attend in Boston, and he's going to be immortalized in Boston in time for becoming a champion within the city of Boston, the city of champions, as we know. It's possible that Al Horford comes back and stays in Boston, already established in Boston. We all know the history and the story there. But the logic behind it, right? Do the Celtics or Al Horford do they want to reunite other than the fact they've been together for so long, they've won together? Because the Celtics, they could be going into a bridge year, and you look at their big man rotation. I think an underrated part about the big man rotation right now is finding who could be a future piece for you for the Celtics. People are looking at the big man rotation going, ooh, Garza and Keita and Tillman and Amari Williams.
I like
Any four of those guys could be a serviceable second or third big in the future, if not a starter. Any of those four guys.
I would say Tillman is kind of
no, but I'll bring up a subject on Tillman.
Wait,
on
how
another.
old is he? How old is he?
Tillman's like 26 or 27.
Okay, all right. So I'm opening. All right,
No, but Tillman, if we're coming, I'm sorry, but if we're coming off the 2024 NBA playoff run, the finals run for the Celtics, right? After what Tillman did at the end of the 24 season and into the playoffs, now it's not like he was a game-changing player every night, but game 3 in Dallas certainly changed the complexity of that game in the finals. Coming off the 2024 playoff run, I think we would have all been pretty comfortable with Xavier Tillman slotting in as the second or third big man in the rotation.
100%.
Coming off the 2024 playoff run. Now, though, we have the history of the 24-25 season, and we know, Xavier Tillman, he played 7 minutes a night and was barely in the rotation. I mean, when I say barely in the rotation, never in the rotation, not even for garbage time. I mean, come on, garbage time, he couldn't even get into the game. So Xavier Tillman last year, terrible season last year, and when I say terrible, it's because he wasn't out on the court at all. I mean,
he was a practice player. He was a practice player, and even then, he was like barely available for practice. So it's like
before that point, coming out the playoffs, Tillman could have been a big you considered as a solidified guy in the rotation.
So there's more.
But that's what I'm saying. Even with Tillman, the Celtics have bigs they can look at over time and go, well, any of these bigs could. Maybe they're not a Kristaps Porzingis or Robert Williams, and they're this all-star level starter. But can you be a serviceable level starter? Can you be a serviceable level rotation big? That's possible with the Celtics big man rotation. But I forgot what point we were on. Al Horford. But that's where does it make sense for Al Horford and the Celtics to unite if the Celtics are on the spectrum of potentially wanting to look at different bigs and start different bigs, and it's going to be a bridge year where the Celtics are a little less competitive than they've been in seasons past? does it make more sense for Al Horford to go elsewhere and try to compete and win during what could be his last NBA season? And Al Horford right now, next year could be his last year. 2 years from now could be his last year. Regardless, he doesn't have too many more years left, Al Horford. He simply doesn't. Could be 1, could be 2,
Could be
maybe
none.
3. Who knows?
Could be none though. Could even
Could be none. But say there's at least 1.
Yeah.
Does Al Horford want to spend his last dying moments in the NBA, right? He's not actually dying, but last dying moments in the NBA. Does he want to spend it on a team that's not like openly not competitive, right? The Celtics, they're going to be not tanking, right? But they're also not a title contending roster. They're just not like the height of the Celtics this year. The Celtics could make the conference finals. I'm just saying that right now because the conference finals are attainable. You win 2 rounds. Okay, you win 2 rounds. Now, winning the conference finals and the finals, that's where it's like, okay, I don't see the Celtics doing that. They could make the conference finals this year at the peak. The Celtics could, but that's the thing: is they're just a conference finals level of good, right? And I shouldn't even. That could be aggregated wrong the way I said that, but the Celtics, if they make that's where I see the Celtics peak this year is probably conference finals. That's the best the Celtics can do this year. That's what I see out of the Celtics, right? Not as if they are going to make the conference finals. I'm just saying at the peak of what the Celtics could be this next season, it could be the conference finals. After that, I don't know. Conference finals is hard to win. We've seen in the past. The finals is hard to win. Both of those, I wonder if Al Horford looks at other situations and goes, yeah, maybe it's a little more viable. I can compete for a title with Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond out in Golden State, or certainly with the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic and the cast of characters Jokic has around him out in Denver, and Jokic and Murray, obviously, as we know. But this is also another thing that's a big thing to me in free agency with Al Horford. The 2 teams who can offer Al Horford the most money, it's the Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors. They could offer him the full mid-level exception, which is up to $14.1 million. That being said, they don't have to offer him the full mid-level exception. They could just offer him part of that mid-level exception, the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, and still get over the number of the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is the highest number. Essentially, the Celtics can offer Al Horford a higher number than the mid-level exception, but they would have to be there. I mean, they're gonna have to match other. They're gonna have to go a little further into the luxury tax, the second apron. Even right now, the Celtics are in the second apron. That's a problem in itself right now for the Celtics. They still need to get out of that. That's why the offseason isn't over, or rather, I mean, that could be a trade deadline thing. I will say later on in time, but the Celtics right now, one of there are only 2 exceptions, right? Minimum contracts and the taxpayer mid-level exception. The taxpayer mid-level exception is worth around $5.7 million, right? The non-taxpayer is worth 14.1. The Nuggets and the Warriors have the non-taxpayer to give out and they don't need to use the whole thing. They could give him 8 million of that, 9 million. They don't have to use the full 14 million. But that's the question, is where does that number spike to when it comes to Denver and Golden State? Because Denver and Golden State, say they go up to 9, 10, 11 million with Al Horford. I don't think the Celtics are going to be able to match that. The Celtics likely want Al Horford. I mean, the ideal scenario coming into this offseason was, can we get Al Horford back on a minimum? That'd be great, right? And that would basically mean, there's only a minimum market out there for Al Horford. But clearly, teams are lining up to give Al Horford the mid-level exception possibly, and if not more than that. And when you get into that conversation, the Celtics, they only have that taxpayer mid-level exception to spend, around $5 million, $6 million, about $5.6, $5.7 million, somewhere in there. The Celtics have that to spend. They could spend more to attain Al Horford back, because if you're, say right now, the Celtics can't go out and sign a free agent right now just randomly. Okay, they can't. They're over the salary cap, over the luxury tax, but there are exceptions for your own free agents. Okay, so Al Horford, we could give him a max contract right now if we wanted to. If the Celtics really wanted to give Al Horford, it's just nonsensical to do that. Obviously, number 1, he's not worth a max contract, but number 2, they'd be destroying their books doing that, right? They'd be destroying their books. They'd be adding a mass amount of salary to the books. So you can sign your own free agents for X amount of dollars, right? You can give them a max contract, but the Celtics, when you start getting up into the 8, 9, 10, $11 million range for Al Horford, I don't think the Celtics are going to match that out on the market. If Al Horford can get that from Golden State or Denver,
And
I
that
bet the Celtics would be okay with matching maybe 7.
Seamus,
8 would be like, all right, yeah, we could maybe do 8. When you get to 9, 10, 11, that is like, no, probably not.
and that's where
Probably,
and
it's like,
that's where
no.
Brad Stevens said, and that's where Brad Stevens said yesterday, where it's unlikely he comes back to Boston. In that sense of, look, they're pulling out numbers that we can't match. Like
That's just
and,
the bottom line. When another team can give a player more money, it doesn't matter via the situations because we just saw with Miles Turner in Indiana for 10 years, just played in a game 7 of the NBA Finals with the Indiana Pacers, and wound up being his last with the Pacers because the Bucks offered him $107 million that the Pacers weren't, and it's just as simple as that. The situation, everything. To talk about the situation with Al Horford, that only matters if the salary numbers are close. All right, if the Celtics are up here with 6 and another team's out here with say 7, right? It's like, maybe the situation factors in a little more than if a team's out there offering Al Horford $9, $10 million and the Celtics are offering 5 or 6. That's a big gap because that's almost a year's worth of salary that you can get up front versus like if you could get it up front with another team versus you might not get that at all with the Celtics in the long run. So for some reason, I will say it's not great that Al Horford, like we don't hear we're in day 10 of free agency right now. Not a great sign Al Horford hasn't re-signed with the Celtics because if there was a mutual interest on a
we have
deal in
15
place.
roster spots right now. We have 15 roster spots. That's
No, the
the
offseason isn't over. 15 roster spots. We're trying to get Al Horford back. Don't have a starting level center over the second apron, over the luxury tax. The offseason's not over for the Celtics. I hate to break it to everybody, but this is not the roster the Celtics are going into next season with. We're only at 10 days into free agency. Things happen later in July, and we've seen even moves happen in August and September. I mean, two of the biggest moves in, I guess you could say, Celtics history, and one of them led to a title. The other led to a weird time period. But the Kyrie Irving move, that was in August. The Drew Holiday move, that was in September. When you think about the Karl Anthony Towns move, the Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns, Dante DiVincenzo trade between the Knicks and the Timberwolves last year, that happened right before the season. I mean, that happened right at the end of September. I believe it was September 27th. I think that was the actual date.
So
of it.
it's a long ways from over though. That's what.
But it's not a great sign that Al Horford, if there was mutual interest on a deal between Al and the Celtics, and the numbers were not at an impasse elsewhere, and he wasn't mining offers elsewhere, a deal would be done. A deal would be done. But because you got to think of it too, situationally, if the money is not a huge factor, right? Say the salary numbers were close, that's where I'm thinking the money is probably going to be a huge factor here. Celtics are probably going to be down here, and the Warriors and Nuggets might be a little up here, and that it might be just as simple as that. But if the salary numbers are close, and there was mutual interest on a deal between Horford and the Celtics, Horford could easily look at the Celtics and go, yeah, maybe taking a tiny, tiny pay cut here. Say I'm taking $6 million instead of 7, right? But it's like I get to play in Boston again. I'm immortalized within this community. Say he doesn't have to move homes, right? Like if he plays in Golden State or Denver, he's gonna have to move physically to that location
That's
for a
why
season or two or however long. In Boston, he doesn't have to move. So
Seamus,
there are
that's
some incentives for staying in Boston when it comes to Al Horford if the salary numbers are close. But because it's day number 10 right now and we haven't heard anything, and it's like, it feels like
Seamus. That's why
he might be departing elsewhere because the salary numbers might be like this. And if it was like this, a deal would already be done.
you're gonna kill me on this. That's why I don't think he'll retire. Like
He's not going to retire. He's not going to retire because there's going to be at least $10 million out there for him for the next 2 seasons. At least. Why? You're playing 82 games, and it's not like his job is to be.
Him saying it against like when the NCAA tournament was going on. He said, "I can't wait to face off against Walter Clayton Jr." Like, so he's gonna be back. So
I think. I gotta say, Walter Clayton playing in the summer league right now out in Utah. He just talk about aura, right? Aura. He just has the aura of somebody that I like when I watch him. He's in the Utah Jazz uniforms, number 13, right? Walter Clayton. I just watch him. I go, I feel like this could be somebody we talk about for a long
I'm
time.
telling. That's what I was saying, Seamus. I tell you, I was big on Walter Clayton. I think another name. I might be wrong with this because he's on the older side, but Johnny Broom. I'm telling you. You're like,
Sixers. First
yeah.
of all, I'm sorry, he's with the Sixers. It's like,
You
well,
know,
if you're
another guy though
the
with the
Sixers don't know how to develop players. Let's
no.
face it. The
Well,
culture in Philadelphia, that's
what
my
about
biggest
VJ
concern.
Edgecombe though? What about VJ Edgecombe and Jared McCain? Those are guys where there's a little something there. But
You
that's
know what's hilarious about Philly is like they're not just. I hate to break it. No matter how many great young guys Philly has,
it
as
won't
long as you
happen.
have Paul George and Joel Embiid making over $50 million apiece,
You're
you
not.
ain't winning anything. You ain't winning anything, all right? Because
Well,
that's worse than. I mean I'm sorry, two $50 million salaries on the roster, and both of them you have no idea if they can make it through 4 rounds. And Paul George, I think he's a good culture setter, but I don't think Joel Embiid is at all.
no.
I doesn't really great player. Don't get me wrong. I love Joel Embiid for his ability and talents, but right now the availability with Joel and the leadership, the maturity of himself, like this whole. And when I say maturity, it's really within the sense of not stepping up as a leader other than some of his actions. I would say his actions, he's I gotta say I defend Joel and Kawhi a little bit more than the community. Everybody likes to bash them, but it's like they play through injuries all the time. It's like there's
No.
got to be some grit and some leadership in that. It's just like the vocal everyday off the court work, all of that. I
Well,
don't see it
well,
there.
Seamus, you talk about guys like that. I'm gonna bring it up. This is another guy like that. I talked about this last week with Daniel, and I want to ask you too, Seamus. Is what are your thoughts about Dame to Boston? Another older guy. We're talking about Al Horford too.
Well,
Dame is another guy who I'm a fan of this move. I correct. I don't. We haven't talked. This is why I'm so excited for this bit because you and I haven't talked about this, but I like Dame to Boston. I am a big fan of that move. But what are your thoughts?
look, so next season, right? Next season will not include Damian Lillard, will not include Jason Tatum, will not include Tyrese Halliburton. Nobody is signing Damian Lillard right now. All right, I got on my soapbox the other day and went on this tangent, but I'll do it here too. Nobody's signing a player who's not going to play next season in 25-26 to retain him for 26-27. Nobody is going to use a roster spot, an open roster spot, and salary space on a player who is blatantly not playing. All right, and when I mean blatantly, he's injured. I mean, come on, he's torn Achilles. That's the worst injury, one of the worst injuries you can have.
May I throw this at you then? What if, because behind the scenes we don't know anything that's going on, but what if there's mutual interest in that though, and they're
There's
like
mutual interest, but look, the
but what if they're
Celtics.
like this? But
It's
yeah,
for next season.
I don't think
It's
yeah,
for the
I
summer of
don't think they'll give up the
2026.
roster
No
spot.
team is gonna.
But do you think? But do you think they have like a? Do you think there could ever be an agreement where they're like, hey, you're not on our team, but we'll let you use our facilities with Jason Tatum, work out with us, and then we.
Well, that's
build up
if
to this
he's
for
on
the
the
fall.
roster, though. They're not giving up. No
No,
team. I'm telling you, the
we
Celtics with
let
all the
them.
luxury tax maneuvering they're doing
No.
right now, and the fact that teams want to keep that 15th roster spot open because it allows them flexibility at the deadline, whether it's for buyout players or to actually take on more contracts so that they can, whether they're a selling team and they can take on more deals for more picks, or they're a team that just wants to acquire a good player and whatever salary swap that it looks like, they have that extra roster spot for the flexibility of taking on an extra deal. Or it just allows teams the flexibility to take on an extra deal in a trade, potentially take on an extra pick in a trade, or later on in time fill that extra roster spot with a buyout candidate, right? Teams leave the 15th roster spot open for flexibility, and that 15th roster spot has now actually turned into the third two-way spot. So ever since the third two-way spot came around after 2023, that's where teams started to leave that 15th roster spot open. Damian Lillard, I'm sorry, the Celtics are not, with all the cap maneuvering the Celtics are doing and we were trying to get under the luxury tax, they're not going to sign Damian Lillard to a minimum for 2 years. And secondly, they're not going to use a roster spot on him. They're not going to use a roster spot or salary space on him because of the luxury tax implications and the flexibility of having that open roster spot later on in the season, specifically around the trade deadline and buyout market period. I don't see any team doing that at all. And my thing is, Damian Lillard, he's going to come back on the minimum. If he gets the mid-level exception, I'll be surprised, and that's going to be because of his status in the past and what he was in the past, and not what he could be in the future. Because Damian Lillard is all of a sudden in prove it mode. He's going to be 36 years old when he actually sees the floor again. He's going to be coming off a torn Achilles, and he was already regressing in multiple areas before the Achilles tear. He already struggled. He's not been a great defender his entire career. So that's already a thing, right? It's like he wasn't a great defender already. But then secondarily, when he was with Milwaukee, especially last season, he's a player that basically has a great game, or I should say an efficient game, 1 out of every 3 games. So he's already regressing offensively. He already wasn't a good defender. I mean, you don't even need to talk about the regression on that end. It already wasn't a great, but he's regressed in multiple areas.
Would you like
coming back from an Achilles tear at 36 as a small guard who relies on explosiveness and shiftiness and quickness and everything Damian Lillard actually relies on to make himself great? He's in proven mode. I don't think he's getting the mid-level exception. I don't think he's getting a bigger deal than the minimum. Anybody who brings him back, it'll be on the minimum. And the Celtics, look, I do not doubt the Celtics won't be that team in 2026. It could be Lillard, Tatum, and I don't doubt the Celtics could be that team in the future. But this summer, it's not happening. It's just simply not happening this summer. I would look for the future. And Damian Lillard is not going to be on a roster next season. It's not going to happen because teams want to finagle with the luxury tax. And let's face it, too, if you're inviting Damian Lillard into the building, you likely have aspirations of winning with him in 26, 27. And if a team is taking on Damian Lillard this year to retain him next year, and they have aspirations of winning next year, it's possible this year they're already up against that tax line or even over it. Why would you add more money to your luxury tax bill for a guy who's not going to play? As well as, again, letting him take up a roster spot you could utilize for something else later on down the line. This is such a situation for next offseason, and I just don't understand why people are talking about it in the sense of this season. And I can understand, we use the facilities, whatever. That only usually happens in trades, right? Or a player actually signs and then gets injured. You think about Danilo Gallinari, signs with the Celtics, immediately tears his ACL over in Europe, and then he's using the Celtics facilities all season. But that's because he was already signed and he was injured while getting signed. Or you think back to a guy like Ricky Rubio, right, with the Pacers and Cavs, tears his ACL with the Cavs. They trade his contract to the Pacers. And at that point, I believe the Pacers actually waived him, but could use the Pacers facilities, whatever it was, right? So only those situations, right, where a player is injured while on a roster, right? Say next year, say the Bucks kept Damian Lillard around. It's possible. I mean, it was completely plausible that the Bucks keep Damian Lillard around and he uses their facilities next year while he's injured, yada, yada. Now, when you're actually injured and you're a free agent, torn ACL, torn Achilles, torn anything, right? Any injury, teams are usually not lining up, especially an injury like this. He's got, like, the Achilles is not a sprained ankle. It's not a torn ACL. I mean, ACL tear, we're making it seem like it's sunshine and rainbows to tear your ACL compared to your Achilles. But the reality is players come back a little better from the torn ACL than the torn Achilles. And the torn Achilles going to be out a full year, but secondarily, he might not come back the same. So that's also another reason why I just look back. I look at the situation. I go, why would a team why would you not invest on a younger player who could? Because Damian Lillard, he's almost in that. First of all, he's older. He's 36. He's coming off an Achilles tear, but he's also a player that could demand some rotation time or some minutes or some ball handling responsibilities. Meanwhile, other players out there, you could be developing a player at the back end of your roster that you think, this guy's going to come in and actually play a spot, complementary spot in the rotation. Damian Lillard, in a perfect world, you'd think, maybe he can be a sixth man type, come off the bench when he comes back, complementary piece in that way. But the reality is Damian Lillard is going to come back. He's going to try his hardest to make the rotation, try his hardest to be a starter, and try his hardest to get another contract, receive another contract in the NBA. And I just wonder why would you want to invest in that if you're a team, right?
Well,
Somebody who's not guaranteed, old, coming off an Achilles tear, and somebody who's going to demand part of the spotlight coming back. That's the difference between Lillard and other players you can develop. Is other players you can develop, they're more supplementary, complementary pieces to what you have going on. Lillard might want to be a main piece in there and will try his hardest to be a main piece. And I think Damian Lillard is mature enough to be a team player and understand when his abilities are shot and
yeah,
to let other guys take over, such as a Peyton Pritchard or an Anthony Simons or whoever's there in the future with the Celtics. But Damian Lillard's also a competitor, and he's going to be somebody that the Celtics
that,
have to consider putting in the rotation. And furthermore, he wants to be in the rotation. I'm
I can't.
I wouldn't doubt it for the Celtics signing him next summer, but this summer it's just not happening.
No, I agree. I agree with what you said, Seamus. I feel like you can't really have two roster spots that aren't going to play this year, especially in a year where you could develop guys and have that opportunity to be able to develop guys this year. So I agree, maybe out the books on this year. However, I wouldn't mind bringing him on next year, especially if you have a competitive roster and you're looking to compete again for a championship next year. I wouldn't mind bringing Damon at all because that's a guy who, Seamus, you already said it, Al Horford could very much so be in the league for 3 more years. But there's also a chance that he could retire this year or next year. So if you bring in a veteran presence like Dame, and I think that's a guy where, you obviously had Drew Holiday, that veteran leader at the guard position, but then you bring Dame in to give Pritchard. And I look at Pritchard and Dame, and I think they have a lot more similarities in player-wise. I feel like Dame and Pritchard kind of remind me a little bit of each other, and they have similar playing styles. Obviously not completely, Dame being more of a star and kind of dictating the pace, but Pritchard is one of those long ball shooters, like good 3 shooter. I kind of like that from him. But I look at this, and we are kind of saying this with Daniel too. It's kind of a full circle moment that, say we do get Dame. It could kind of be like, hey, Milwaukee trades Drew Holiday to the Trailblazers. Trailblazers trade Drew Holiday to Boston, gets a championship. Dame goes to Milwaukee, obviously ends up with the Celtics. And then who knows? Dame could win a championship in Boston. But, I look at it more so at the veteran perspective. I feel I agree with you, Seamus. I don't think he'll have a lot to provide when he comes back. And we were even talking about this with Coach AJ, how devastating that is for Dame because, when he's on the ground after that Achilles tear, if you could pull up that picture of him like just standing, like sitting there, if you could find that one after the Achilles tear, and it's like, obviously Tatum and Halliburton in excruciating pain, but I think the only thing that's running through Dame's mind is I'm getting older, but my career might have just flashed in front of my eyes. So that's a guy where, again, you said it, Seamus, we could take on him and be like, hey, look, we have Dame. He could come off the bench. And you said it again. He's competitive. He's going to want to come back and be that starting player. He's going to be like, hey, I don't want to lose my starting spot. But at the same time, he might accept that. And I feel like he has mutual, like, I feel like there is interest with Boston. I feel like he's a big fan of Tatum. He's like, all right, Tatum and I can both come back. And there's just you look at it and it's like, all right, there's an expectation for winning here. And he is not a big guy for ring chasing. Obviously, we say that, but he also went to Milwaukee where he's like, oh, maybe get a ring here. But this might be your best opportunity to get one because I feel as if Brad Stevens, you have a lot of teams who like to do stuff with super teams, like I'm going to give shots out for the Lakers, the Nets. Those are teams that they're like the Suns even. They're like, all right, we're going to build a super team and we're going to do it
Well,
right.
the Suns have put themselves in purgatory by
They have.
messing around with that.
And that's where you look at the Celtics. Brad Stevens has constructed it in certain ways. And Brad Stevens and Celtics ownership is very smart in certain ways too. So I think Dame knows that too. And if he's willing to take a spot off the bench and kind of come on and be like, all right, I'm fine with this. There could be some success down the line for Dame in Boston. And I would be stoked if Dame came to Boston because I've been a Dame fan for forever. But at the same time, it's like, will this actually help us win? Is this the right move that we're gonna do? I'm uncertain. And if that's the case that Brad's at, where is this gonna help us win? And he's like, no, this would just be jersey sales. Brad's not gonna do that. Brad's gonna do the case that will make us win. If he
This seems like an Isaiah Thomas situation.
It does.
Literally what you're describing is an Isaiah Thomas situation where you're saying, oh, jersey sales and we love Dame and ticket sales, right? But does he actually help us win? Because that's another thing I question. He's not going to be a good defender. All right. So there's already that. We already know the Celtics, Brad Stevens, the front office, the ownership, a new ownership, to be fair, but they've always valued defense, right? Being able to defend. I mean, the one year the Celtics had that down year in 2021, right? They went 36-36. Their defense was atrocious that year. And that was the one thing about that team where it was like, wow, that was the 2020-2021, that season. That was the first Brad Stevens team that was bad defensively. And ironically, that was Brad Stevens' last season as a head coach. But Damian Lillard defensively, he's not going to be good. And that's where I look at this and go, well, he's likely going to have to come off the bench. He's going to be making a minimum, most likely. He's going to have to come off the bench. Might not be the greatest defender in the world. And offensively, will he demand a little bit too much responsibility for it to be efficient? That's where Isaiah Thomas, that was the range Isaiah Thomas was in, wasn't a great defender off the bench, but when he came in, he almost demanded more responsibility than he was actually worth on the floor. And that's the thing about Dame is like, can he be that complimentary piece rather than be the star? Because that's what he's going to have to be in the twilight of his career.
Well, may I add this in? Would you be fine bringing Dame in if he accepted more of a role as Drew Holiday did? Drew Holiday was a guy.
But that's not happening. He can't do that.
Obviously, because he's not a defender. But if he was willing to come in and be like, hey, I know my role with Boston. I'm going to pass more. I might not be getting 20 points a game. I'm going to pass more. I'm coming off the bench. Would you accept that role for Dame? Because it would be hard for him to accept that role. But if he's like, all right, this is in my best interest because I could win a championship here, would you accept that role of Dame?
Well, my thing is, if you have this efficient scoring guard who can make off the bench, that would be valuable for the Celtics. It's just the fact of, is he going to be a status in the future? Is he going to be at the status of, oh, he's still Damian Lillard. He still should handle the ball. He still should have scoring responsibilities when he might not be the most efficient scorer anymore because he's going to be dealing with coming off an Achilles injury. And you factor in the defensive end. That's where I think I conclude when I look at the Damian Lillard situation, I kind of go, this doesn't move the needle for the Celtics for me, but could be fun, could be an uplifting moment, jersey sales, everything like that. And furthermore, it could be something where you go, okay, he's added on to a roster that is one of the favorites in the league, and he's off the. My thing is just him coming off the bench. Do you see a world where Damian Lillard is actually somebody who's going to come in and go? Like, how do you even slot him in off the bench if you're going, say he comes in and he's not as efficient as an on-ball guy anymore, as a ball handler anymore, and as a scorer? Where does he slot in? That was the Isaiah Thomas problem. Where does he slot in? Because if you play him off ball, if a guy is playing off ball, right? First of all, you're taking away his best traits, which is going to be ball handling, playmaking, scoring. Okay, those are Damian Lillard's best traits, is with the ball in his hands. You're taking that away from him. You're taking the best thing he does away, and defensively he's not going to give you much. So that's where I have a little bit of a problem with Damian Lillard and the Celtics potentially uniting in the future. It's like, where do you really slot him in to where because if you use him off ball, he could be a wildly inefficient player where you go, well, some of his best traits are gone and he can't defend at all. So that's a problem for me with the Celtics and Damian Lillard. But I do see a world where I go, well, the Celtics could be desperate. The roster might not be up to par. Damian Lillard might be a little desperate. and maybe you do. To me, that situation, I think Damian Lillard makes more sense on the Celtics actually if they're not contenders. I think, well, I should say this, if they're not top tier contenders, right? If the Celtics are maybe in the top 10 of the NBA, the top third of the league, and they're kind of like, oh, we're maybe in that 10, 11, 12 range, somewhere in there, it might make sense to go out and get Damian Lillard and go, let's try to bolster this a little bit, right? But if you're a certified contender, like the last 2 years, the Celtics were certified contenders.
Yep.
I don't really see a world where Damian Lillard slots in well with the Celtics rotation if they're certified contenders, because he's not a player that's going to make the Celtics contenders again. He's going to just add on to what they already have.
However, though, Seamus,
Or you can take it away.
I wonder this. Pull up the pictures really quick. Pull up the pictures for us because,
of course,
look, you see right there.
Couldn't even tell he tore his Achilles right here. Uh-oh. I think Griffin either I'm frozen or Griffin's frozen right now, but I'll keep going for Griffin. But this photo right here, you don't even notice Damian Lillard tore his Achilles. I mean, you think about the Halliburton photo, you think about the Tatum photo, even the DeJounte Murray, and I say photo, but how about videos? The videos of those guys excruciatingly writhing in pain on the ground. Damian Lillard was just sitting up and looking out like, man, I cannot believe this just happened to me. I mean, look at this. Damian Lillard, this is right after he tore his Achilles. As we can maybe Griffin is as we pulled these photos up here, Griffin, he's having a couple of technical difficulties. He should be back here. Griffin, do we have you back here on stage? We do.
I am back.
All right. We're back. And it's as if nothing happened.
Well, may I say too, you said that, Seamus, too, that it looks like he wasn't even hurt. Like I think it's more so the fact that his in his eyes, I see more so heartbreak. You know, I see that he knows that his career is either over or kind of it's gonna change a lot. And that's where I look at this, Seamus, and I'm like, all right, if he's in a lot of talks with the Celtics and he's like, all right, I know I can't be the player that I used to be, which I don't think it will be that. He's very competitive, as you said, but he's more so like, all right, I know I can't be this player, but I could provide in different ways. Maybe they could build off of that. But as of right now, I agree with you. It wouldn't make sense to bring in Dame this offseason. However, next offseason, would you say the Boston Celtics are the favorite to bring him in, or what would you say there's a favorite team right now, or what are your thoughts? I can see him coming to Boston. I really can.
It's hard to project a year into the future on who could be the best fit for a smaller guard, maybe coming off the bench on a minimum deal. The Celtics are up there. Trying to think of smarter teams.
Miami's definitely up there.
Miami, of course.
They're
Miami
always
is
favorite.
always.
Lakers are always going to be up there too.
Lakers are always going to be up there. You could say. I'm trying to think of teams that are not too far. Clippers. The Clippers for sure.
Portland too. I think Portland, he can make a reunion. I think so.
That makes no sense to me.
I would say
Portland's identity right now is defense, and they just got rid of Simons so that they could uncake their guard rotation. To me, it's like, why would you bring in another guard who you already had, who you already traded, who doesn't play defense?
But Portland
doesn't go with the identity of the team right now.
The only reason I say Portland is because they make such questionable decisions.
Well, so you can say Sacramento too. You can say Sacramento as well. Like, let's face it, Sacramento. I mean, but Sacramento would be a team where Lillard looks at them and goes, why would I want to go there? I mean, that's also the thing with Lillard, is Lillard's going to want to be on a competitive team. You could say the Clippers, ball handling there is a little light right now, but in a year, will it be light, right? It's hard to project what teams will look like in a year from now.
I would say Celtics are a big one to look out for, though. I would say.
The Cavs are not fond of Garland as a small guard. Why would they let another small guard into the building? I was thinking of the Cavs. Like, no, not the Cavs. Pistons, too many guys there.
Maybe Brooklyn. Brooklyn might.
I was like, Pacers need a guard right now, but next season, Halliburton will be back. Brooklyn, that's another situation where I go, well, he's not going to want to go there because they're not going to be competitive.
I look at this, and if there's mutual interest between the Celtics and him, and Obviously, Jason Tatum and him being close. So I really wouldn't be shocked if he does come to Boston. Though. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be shocked.
Let's
And I
see.
won't mind. I like Dame. I'm a big Dame fan.
I like to go. Let's see. I mean, let's just go down the list of 30 teams. So Celtics, sure. Nets, no. Knicks, maybe off the bench next to Brunson, maybe.
That's kind of like a Celtics category, but I would say rank the Celtics over them.
Sixers for sure, because just think about the Sixers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sixers.
Kyle Lowry's on a 1-year deal. You could easily next year just go, oh, Kyle Lowry is gone. He's elsewhere. He retires, and Lillard steps into the Kyle Lowry role, which is a guard off the bench. So
Yeah.
you could say the Sixers, the Raptors maybe, but they're more in their youth stage. Like I see him going to maybe a more veteran-led team than a youthful team. The Bulls, definitely not. The Cavs, I don't really see them winning another small guard in that situation. The Pistons have too many guys, too many good guards. Pacers, too many good guards. The Bucks, could he go back to the Bucks eventually next year?
I don't.
Like, is that a thing?
He's out for revenge.
Yeah, but like he has to understand too. Like the Bucks,
they had to.
It's possible he comes back to the Bucks next year. They're still paying him, and that would be a great deal for the Bucks because you're thinking, well, if you're the Bucks, at least you're thinking, well, that $22.5 million you're paying Damian Lillard in dead money. Well, at least he's on the roster and you're paying him. It's not dead. It's dead money, but he's at least on the roster now, and it's not dead money. He's actually playing.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine he went to the
something.
Celtics and they're paying him. How much of a punch in the face would that be if he went to the Celtics, they win a championship, and they're paying him still? How much of a punch?
That would be awful.
And
the Bucks have already seen the awful side of this trade. They basically created a championship for the Celtics by trading for Damian Lillard. They thought they were upgrading. They didn't upgrade the roster by trading Lillard or trading Holiday for Lillard. That would be such a. And then they just made another team a juggernaut in the same conference.
That's why I'm saying, Seamus. That's why I'm saying, Seamus. If you see that happening, it wouldn't shock me. It really wouldn't shock me.
What about the rest of the teams? Atlanta, maybe in the future they could be pretty competitive this year. You have Trae Young, small guard there, like maybe off the bench. Who knows? Because I'm thinking of this. Maybe Damian Lillard is thinking about it in the sense of, okay, when I come back, he's going to be a starter. He's going to come back with full force, full vengeance. He's going to be a starter again, right? I'm thinking about this as, can Damian Lillard come off the bench, right, for this team? Because if you look at Atlanta, you clearly go, oh, well, they have Trae Young starting. But can Lillard come off the bench for a Trae Young-led team? Maybe. And let's say this too. Atlanta might be pretty competitive next season. And it's about who's competitive next season going into the season after when Lillard, Tatum, Halliburton, everybody's coming back. DeJounte Murray, I wonder if DeJounte Murray will come back next season. Tore his Achilles earlier last year in February. Wasn't in May, or wasn't in April, May, and June as Halliburton, Tatum, and Lillard were. Those Achilles injuries. Maybe the Hornets, if they uptick in the standings, you never know there. A lot of flexibility for the Hornets in the future. Melo Ball, could you come off the bench behind him? The Heat, certainly. The Magic, maybe another team. Just saying, they signed Tyus Jones. Doesn't strike me as a team that would want some of these teams, I'm just looking at Lillard. Lillard's not a good defender, all right? And teams, if their identity is defense, that's the thing about the Blazers, the Celtics, the Magic right now, and fitting Damian Lillard anywhere. He's not a good defender. Those are all defensive-oriented teams. They all own an identity of defense. Why would you want to invest or bring in a player who's not going to be about that end of the floor? That's where I see the impasse with the Magic. Otherwise, the Magic, even though they signed Tyus Jones, they could use some ball handling in the future, and who knows what could happen with their rotation. The Wizards, probably not going to be competitive enough in time. The Nuggets, sure, they're a team who brought in Isaiah Thomas long ago. You could certainly see the Nuggets bring in a guy like Damian Lillard off the bench behind Jamal Murray eventually and playing alongside Jokic. Could see a lot of anytime anybody's playing alongside Nikola Jokic, the floor is open. It's like the floor is open. The amount of attention he draws, and obviously his playmaking ability and his manipulation of the floor, it's just elite to the point where everything's going to be open. Timberwolves maybe could use the Timberwolves. There are a lot of ball handlers there.
I know say
Nikhil Alexander-Walker left the building, but Rob Dillingham, I don't see a world where they go, oh, let's put Damian Lillard in front of Rob Dillingham. No, Rob Dillingham should have the say over, or the spot over Damian Lillard into the future if you want to develop him as the Timberwolves traded up to the 8th overall pick to pick Rob Dillingham and gave up some nice things to do so.
You know,
The Thunder, could you be an add-on at the end? We already talked about the Blazers. The Jazz probably won't be competitive enough in time. The Kings probably aren't competitive enough or great enough situation. The Suns, maybe something happens there potentially in time. The Lakers, always open game. Clippers, always open game. The Warriors, hometown, just saying, well, technically, Warriors are in San Francisco. Dame's from Oakland. They moved away from Oakland. That annoys me. Every time I go back to the 21 season, the Warriors are wearing the Oakland jersey. They're wearing the Oakland jerseys, yet they moved away from Oakland 2 seasons prior. They were in San Francisco. I understand they're close together, but when you have to travel 45, 50 minutes over the bridge, right, get around the Bay Area, doesn't seem so close together. All right, like that's, a little far. Warriors, hometown, maybe for Damian Lillard. A lot of old guys, though. I don't see it. Mavericks, maybe off the bench, but again, a lot of guards there. So many of these are just maybes, and we don't know what the situation will look like in time. Rockets, I would say for sure, right? The Rockets, you have Kevin Durant there, Fred VanVleet. You have some okay ball handlers, but they could use another guard in the situation. Memphis, maybe not competitive enough, but
no, I would say yeah. I would say yeah by then.
I don't see Lillard. Like, is Memphis? I'm trying to think. I mean,
no,
Memphis,
players are trying to get out of Memphis, though.
I know Memphis. Like, Memphis is just not a great market. New Orleans and Memphis are just two markets where I'm like, yes, they could slot in Damian Lillard off the bench, but are they competitive enough? And are the markets? Like, I could also see in the whole Damian Lillard saga, the markets mattering too, where it's a competitive situation, but the markets.
That's why
New Orleans or Memphis is telling you that's not as great. And then the Spurs. The Spurs, the last team. Spurs, maybe off the bench there too. A lot of these are just, I gotta say, they're maybes because we don't know what the guard rotations will look like for all these teams in a year. And you could say for a lot of these teams, yes, you don't want, say, Damian Lillard, like Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. Why are you adding Damian Lillard into that situation? Doesn't make a ton of sense. It's the teams that are light on guards, right? And I think the Lakers right now, if Lillard was just a free, he is a free agent right now, but if Lillard was healthy next season, right, going to be healthy, I think certainly the Los Angeles Lakers could be this whole thing started out with the question of, are the Celtics the favorites? I would actually put right now where the Lakers are as the favorites. But that is talking about this season.
If he were to come in this season.
Well, no, not come in this season, but yes, come in this season. He's not coming back next year. He's not signing with the team. But say if a team needed Damian Lillard right now and he was healthy, I think the Lakers would be the prime candidate because they don't like their top guard is Gabe Vincent. Essentially, and you could say Luka Doncic, okay, Luka Doncic, duh, but they don't have many ball handlers outside of Luka Doncic and LeBron James, and that's just the gist of the Lakers. Definitely could use a guy like Lillard, but again, next season is LeBron even going to be with the Lakers?
And
what's going on there? It's really hard to project a year from now for what his market will actually look like.
No, and it's so hard to predict that. However, like. And this might just be me being biased because I am a big fan of Dame, but I know he's gonna, like you said, Seamus, he's gonna want to go to a bigger market. That's what it is. He's gonna want to go to a bigger market. He's not necessarily gonna ring chase as much as we think because again, he's a player that's really against that. He doesn't like that. However, he says that, but he wants a ring.
Shit. Bullshit. Okay, like I'm sorry, LeBron, Damian Lillard. Ring culture has ruined everything. Meanwhile, it's like, LeBron's trying to leave the Lakers while also getting paid because he wants another ring. It's like, I thought ring culture. I thought it wasn't a thing. I thought it was it ruined the game, right? It's like, no, these guys care. These guys care about their legacies. They do. They can say how much they can front however much they want about how they don't care about their legacies. They do. NBA players care about their legacy. And the thing is, you cannot be that competitive. You can't make it to that point in the NBA if you don't care about your legacy. I'm sorry.
You can't. You
Like
can't.
you have to care in some regard, right? And it's not about caring about everything glamorous. It can be about the simple fact of caring about winning. Okay, caring about winning. I look at a guy like Tim Duncan, right? He's three times the player Luke Cornett is, right? That's the
Three
other
times.
that's the
Wait,
other
wait,
That's the other statement.
wait.
That's the other statement of it.
Where
And
is it? Where is
information
it?
for people because they forget people's jersey numbers. The reason we're saying that, by the way, folks, Luke Cornett number 7, Tim Duncan was number 21. So just to clear that one up, we didn't give out the. I mean, people obviously a lot of people know about Tim Duncan and his number, but sometimes people forget about the jersey numbers. So that's why we say that. But I will say a guy like Tim Duncan, right? It's like I don't see his want for legacy when it comes to like, oh, look at me out in Hollywood or look at me in New York and look at all this glitz and glam, right? Tim Duncan was somebody who wanted to win. Okay, that
Yeah.
was his legacy. He wants to win. And that's what's important is the legacy of winning is important for players, right? And the rings, that's the accolade for winning. If you have rings, it's like you won at the highest level. You won at the
You were
highest level possible in
successful
basketball.
even
And
at
that's
that
why
level.
players care about rings because they care about
No,
winning. It's not,
no,
and some
totally.
players do care about the glitz and the glam, like LeBron and others are out there, right? But just simply caring about winning, that is something that will drive a player to care about his legacy overall.
No, and may I say though, Seamus, I won't mind. I'm pulling this up one more time. You can't lie. That Celtics jersey fits him pretty well. And Daniel said this. He said it was weird at first, but ever since he saw him in Milwaukee, he said he's used to it. Do you think Celtics green fits him? Seamus, if you want to talk for a second, I'm gonna go find a picture of Dame that I took at my first ever Celtics game. If you wanted to just go on about that,
Was this Dame in a Blazers jersey? I mean,
it
my
was.
thing is, I think in time it's like I think every jersey Damian Lillard wears from here on out, the Milwaukee jersey, the any other jersey, it's going to be the photo of Damian Lillard we use in the future or people use in the future for when they reference washed players, right? Or they meme a situation where people are washed,
like
right? It's
Shaq,
going to be
like Shaq in a Celtics
Shaq,
jersey.
Shaq in
Can,
the Celtics jersey,
can you
Shaq in the
please pull
Cavs
that up?
jersey, Patrick Ewing in the Magic
Hold on,
jersey,
I'll
Hakeem
find it.
Olajuwon in the Raptors jersey, Robert Parrish in a Bulls jersey, Tony Parker in a Hornets jersey. I mean, the list goes on and on and
Hold
on.
on, hold on. I'm gonna bring in 2 photos for you guys to as we're gonna get ready to close this off after. But you're right. It's like gonna be Dame in a Celtics jersey, and you're gonna be like, oh well. There might be a championship with it, and you're like, oh wow, Dame in a Celtics jersey, that's known. But at the same time, it could be like Dame in a Celtics jersey.
That's
That was
like
a year
Otto
where
Porter, right? Otto Porter, not a star in the league or anything, but and really, I mean, where do people remember Otto Porter? Like Washington,
Washington. Yeah.
Chicago, Orlando. I mean, it's to be fair. To be fair, those destinations. It's not like he did a ton of those destinations, but Otto Porter, you could have said, oh, Otto Porter in a Warriors jersey, but when you think of Otto Porter in a Warriors jersey, think of him holding that Larry O'Brien trophy up after beating the Celtics in 2022. So the championship does matter with the jerseys and what a player looks like in that jersey. I'm trying to think of another championship a player might have won with a different jersey. Like you have, Karl Malone and Gary Payton with the Lakers. They never won a championship there, but that's another in the past. I'm trying to think of players who won championships in different jerseys.
No,
Yeah,
but
that from
yeah.
like what they were originally remembered as. You have a lot of role players who won, but they're not role play. There might be role players who play for 6 different teams, and you're not thinking of them necessarily.
Oh, you know what's another one that's going to be kind of a wash player? Vince Carter in a Hawks jersey.
Oh, Vince Carter in a Kings jersey. I mean, he
Wait,
was
all
in
right,
a
all right, all right.
Mavs
We got
jersey.
it. But this is what we're meaning
Ugh.
by this. Shaq in a
Now Shaq,
no,
he has the unique build of a wash player here, though. I will say that.
totally
Just the YMCA build right here.
hands down. That's the men's league. But this is as you see Evan Fournier in the background too. We gotta give some credit to that. But Dame, I actually got to see him in person, so that was fun. Can this be his home stadium that he could call home on the parquet now? Can the Celtics do that? I'm curious. Will this end up happening in Beantown?
It's a pretty nice photo right there. I mean, I'm looking at his shot form on this. I'm going, man, his feet are really close together on this shot. Like
Yeah.
that's my first reaction. I go, wow, his
You-
feet.
you
Like,
want
he's
your-
not actually shooting it like
You
the
want to
proper.
hear an actual funny story too? I might have said this on the program too, but that game, there was a drunk fan behind me, and Pritchard was shooting shots like far like Dame, and he says, "You're not Curry, you're not Dame, stop shooting that." And now look at that person we love and grown to love in Peyton Pritchard. So
And that
just a
was
little-
during. Let's disclaim that for people. That was Peyton Pritchard's rookie year.
it was.
So Peyton Pritchard, Boston B Money, he was talking on here. He's like, man, nobody knew who Peyton Pritchard was. It's like, yeah.
That's
I mean, he was just a 26th overall pick, and people go, oh, first round pick. But then people also with that first round pick, people forget not Damian Lillard. I'm sure with him too, high in the draft. But people went with Peyton Pritchard. They went, another small guard, really?
Yeah. So
Another small guard. It's like we already went through the Isaiah Thomas era, and at that time too, we already had Carson Edwards, already had Tremont Waters, just went through the Isaiah Thomas era, and I'm sure we had Walt Lemon Jr. I feel like we had another small guard in there somewhere, maybe not. But when Peyton Pritchard was picked at 26th overall, people liked the competitiveness of Pritchard, but the number one comment was small guard, small guard, small guard.
totally.
Look what it turned out to.
Well, this is going to be a podcast too. Obviously, episode 55, Daniel and I talked about it a little bit too, but this is going to be one to look back at, especially after all the rumors I've been seeing all throughout my phone for the past week has been Dame to Boston, Dame to Boston. But this could very well be an episode where we look back next year at this time and be like, hey, it actually happened, or hey, we were talking about, because he's going to one of the 30 teams. It's undeniable that he's going to one of those 30 teams. So it's like, oh, we mentioned that one and Seamus said maybe, but who knows? He could be in Boston next year. He really can. And
I feel like that segment was terrible. I just went maybe. Pretty sure it's like, maybe.
But who knows? But I again, we'll see when it comes that time. But right now, it's very questionable with Dame. But Seamus, anything you have else to close this out?
I don't know. I mean, we talked for 3 hours. It's one of those. Well, if I haven't said it in 3 hours, how important is it, right? Like
the longest episode for sure for Celtics Nation Rise. But
you need 2 more hours tacked onto this for the Celtics Talk Weekly record. I'll say that.
I know, but 2 more hours. You think we could do it, Seamus? Just random stuff. Let's go for it. Kidding.
I'll change the graphics over to the live right now. We can rip a live for 2 hours straight up. Just boom, boom.
Might as well. But with that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, it's going to be hectic all off season. So turn on that bell. You see that bell? You see it ringing? You guys need to make that bell ring. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload, because again, off season is going to be crazy. It's been crazy. And obviously with Al Horford still out there too, we're going to get some news on him. So turn on that bell to know when we post. And with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.